to our August meeting of the West Hampton Beach Zoning Board. Let's see, get organized here, we'll get started. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is, we're all ready. We're just gonna we have a few decisions we want to approve. Our first decision is the West Hampton Synagogue, 154 Sunset Avenue. We have a decision written to approve this variance request, so I'd like to make a motion, we go ahead and accept that decision as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dan. We all in favor on that?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is the Lockton Realty at 111 Hazelwood Avenue for the extra silo, and we also have a decision to approve that variance, so I'll make a motion that we go ahead and accept that decision as written.
Second.
Second by Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
And the next one is for Adam and Jane Golden, 16 Beach. Now, that was for a combined side yard variance, and the board again has gone ahead and approved that variance, so I'd like to make a motion that we accept that decision as written.
Second.
Second by John, all in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Brad, we have an extra pen. Oh, never mind, Jimmy's got it. Thank you. What happened to my pen? Okay, number 4 on our agenda is Glen Edwards 6 Lake Way.
Yes, I have a brand new set of architect's plans and survey that I got yesterday.
Aha.
And I thought that if I went and filed it with you anyway, because if you look at it, so I'll ask you to indulge me for one more one, and then by the end of this week, or the beginning of next week, I'll have a new filing for you that can actually review.
Okay. Well, kind of getting used to having that on our agenda anyway, Jim, right? All right, I'll make a motion. We go ahead and hold that over for all purposes.
Second.
Second by Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 5 has been held over to October 15th. We've already approved that one. So we'll get right into number 6, Craig Litt, 2012 Trust, 336 Dune Road.
Good evening, members of
Okay.
the board. My name is John Bennett, Bennett and Reed, 212 Windmill Lane, Southampton, New York. Aram Tuchernian is here with me this evening. Always a pleasure to work with Aram. Aram has done a very extensive analysis of the character of the neighborhood, particularly as it relates to the surrounding lots in terms of the setbacks and the lot coverages, and how favorably what we're proposing compares with that. Also, some comments on issues of drainage, which Aram has done a wonderful job in his August 14th submission. And then there was an issue that came up tonight about, not tonight, but with some photographs that one of the neighbors submitted about what appeared to be a drainage pipe, putting water, storm water off the our property onto another property, but as Aram has showed you through his investigation, that's a non-functional pipe. But I think it's sort of a
I'm
fact
sorry,
that
John, did you say a non-functional pipe?
the pipe is non-functional.
And Aram's
And-
going to go through that with us? Thank you.
And
That's a
Aram's going to
question.
talk directly to that, because candidly, when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a problem, but it turns out that it's non-functional. Not only that, but it's a very, from a character of the neighborhood point of view, and from impact based upon what we think you'll be able to demonstrate is the lack of any stormwater trespass. I think what I'd like to do, if it's okay with the board, is have Aram lay in these very significant facts that we feel support our application, and then I'd like to bat a little cleanup and talk about the standard of review that's, I believe, respectfully is applicable to this. So if that's okay with you, I'd like to bring up Aram to go through his report and talk about the character of the neighborhood, the drainage issue, and 1 or 2 other issues that we think are pertinent and favorable to us.
Great.
If that's okay.
Yeah, I
Aram?
think so. Aram, I'd like to just remind you to speak as much as you can into the microphone, because our secretary's not here, so we want to be as thorough as we can for her.
I will do that. I'll also
Thank you.
have to be a little bit of a millennial because I left my hard copy of my report in my office. So give me a moment just to pull it up. Unless you have one right there. Look at that. Thank you, Aram Tertunian, First Coastal, West Hampton Beach, on behalf of the applicant. I submitted on August 14th a neighborhood analysis regarding, looking at the two primary factors that we're asking a variance for, which are side yard variance and a lot coverage variance. So what I did was I looked at a variety of properties in the neighborhood, and in the appendix to this report, I've given you copies of all of the various surveys that we looked at, including the survey for this property. We also examined a couple of decisions, zoning board decisions on the adjacent properties to give some context. So I'm sure the board is familiar with the report, so I won't, go through it word for word. But with regard to the retaining wall, we're requesting a variance, I believe it's 9.8 feet. I called it 10 feet. The adjacent property to the west has a 2.5-foot variance, which was a setback, which was secured through a variance. And the property to the east has a 5-foot variance setback that was secured also through a variance. On the west, it's a tennis court, which the court itself is really at ground level, but there's a 12-foot fence associated with a tennis court. And the property to the east has an elevated deck that's about 3 feet above grade. It's quite extensive and connected with the pool, and there's also a full story of a cabana on that property as well. Also at the 5-foot setback, and there's also a set of stairs that actually encroaches into the 5-foot setback. With regard to the proximity of the wall, I've given you some photographs that I took from the applicant's property, where I'm standing between the existing retaining wall and the tennis court. And that's photo 1 of the 14th correspondence. And you can see that area is really densely vegetated. It's a really excellent screen between the two properties, and it's providing a terrific function. If you look at photograph 2, you can see that there's not only is there tree cover, but there's also ground cover here, which provides a very effective vertical screen. You see that the ground here is very stable. There's no evidence of runoff in any direction. If you look at photograph 3, which I took from the road, basically on the driveway apron of 338. I'm looking towards 336. In that photo, you can barely see the wall, and that's the best angle I could get without trespassing. So since I didn't want to do that, that's the only photo I could get, but you really can't see the wall from that vantage point. And then in photo 4, this is a photo that was actually supplied by the applicant, by the neighbor. And you can see, again, even from that point of view, there's tremendous screening, and you cannot see the wall. If you go to figure 5, once again, I'm just showing that there's tree screening, there is ground screening, and there is mulch and earth, and no evidence of runoff observed in any direction. If there was runoff here, we would see sheet flow, we would see flow lines, we would see rills or rivulets. None of that's present here. So those are the telltales that water's moving from one point to another. None of those exist at that location. In figure 6, what I want to demonstrate here is, I think one of the members pointed out at our last hearing that there was some artificial turf that had been laid down. I want to demonstrate 2 things. Yes, it's there, but it was clearly temporary, and I folded up the edge so you see it was not glued or anything like that. And of course, the proposal that's in front of you is that they would remove all of the concrete base, turn that into a giant French drain, and then relay the artificial turf on top of that. Figure 7, now we go to the other side of the property. So there's the boundary between 336 and 334. And you can see again that, there's dense screening, very effective. Also want to point out that there's this is a pervious driveway. There's even a drain on the edge of the driveway, but also there's a lip on the slate coping. So water's not escaping out of this driveway. It's all being contained either infiltrating into the permeable nature of the driveway or it is going into the drainage system. Figure 8 was a picture of the pool equipment. You also saw it in the previous photos. This is what it looks like when you're standing in the driveway. It's surrounded by vegetation. You can't see it from the other property. You can only see it when you get in between the properties. So in between the 12-foot-high tennis court fence and the 5-foot-high wall, then you can see it. Other than that, it's not visible. Photo 8, I took from the road to see if I could, what the proximity of the pool equipment is. I'm just blocked by cars here, so clearly cars are blocking the view. Later on, I will introduce another photo without the cars. You still can't see it. Again, on figure 10, the only way that you can see the pool equipment is to get in between the retaining wall and the tennis court fence. Then I supplied for you a full neighborhood analysis, and I won't belabor everything. I think the most telling part of it is to look at Table 1 and Figure 2 and Figure 3. So what I did was I foiled the village files. I went through the surveys. From the surveys, I took the lot area, I took the coverage, computed a lot coverage percentage, and looked at all the different yard setbacks. And as you can see in Figure 2, the median lot coverage is 41.9%. And our proposal here is for 25.2%. So we're as far as lot coverage goes, we're far below the median of the properties that we evaluated. The next thing we looked at was the side yard setbacks on those very same properties. And we have the median side yard setback is 6.0 feet. We're requesting 9.8. I have it in as 10, but clearly we're much larger than the median in the neighborhood. And then in Table 2, and then also we also did the focused analysis that I referred to in the beginning part of my presentation, which is just looking at the 3 properties: the subject property, 334 to the east, and 338 to the west. And as I said, it's 2.5 feet on one side, 5 feet on the other. We're asking for 9.8, and the lot coverage on 334 is 26.1. We're asking for 25.2, and at 338, it's 41.9, and we're asking for 25.2. So my conclusion, after reviewing this information, is that we fit well within the character of the neighborhood, and you have attached all of the surveys that I used to make the analysis. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Aaron.
If I may. So, John Bennett again for the applicant. So when you the board first saw this, I don't know if you saw it, but we made an application for a sports court, which is a common accessory structure in the area, and it soon became clear to Aram and to I that based upon Mr. Hammond's calculation of the lot coverage, that was going to be a bridge too far, so we pulled that back. And then we started looking at lot coverages in the area, and based upon that and based upon some of the comments at the first hearing where I wasn't able to attend, but Aram did, we started trying to lower that lot coverage request, primarily by the proposal to break up this concrete, which obviously is not pervious, and simply put I guess what we would call is gravel underneath it, so that essentially it's all draining and acts, as Aram accurately described it, as a large French drain. We're not here, we're trying to work with the board. We realize that some of that coverage came up without permitting, but we're not standing on standing our feet and saying we have to give it all to us. What we're trying to do is to come to some sort of understanding and some sort of agreement whereby there is a reasonable transition around the pool, and also to maintain that retaining wall. Because what happened, and Mr. Litt and his wife are here, and they can testify if you want. I don't think it's necessary, it's pretty obvious, but what happened is that soil around the pool started sloughing off. There was nothing to retain it. So not only the retention, but also some, an appropriate patio around the garage, around the pool, but again, not something that would violate in any sense the character of the neighborhood. One of the standards, you have the 5 standards for the various tents, of course, variance test, of course. But if you look at Terry Rice's commentaries to the village law and the case law that comes out of it, clearly the character of the neighborhood is the most significant of that 5-part test, and that makes sense because people shouldn't be doing things that are contrary to what the neighbors have. So again, what are the conditions that are surrounding the neighborhood, and how does this application compare? We talked about, first of all, this lot, unlike some of the lots on either side, is more circumscribed in terms of impact from wetlands. Some of those other lots enjoy the ability to develop a little bit further to the north. This lot is a little bit more truncated as it comes down to the south, so the area available for lot coverage is less. So again, Aram conducted this very extensive study regarding the surrounding properties, and at the risk of boring you, but I think it's important because it tells the story. 25.2% is what we're requesting. 20% is permitted. We looked at 330, 334, 338, 339, 342, 353, 371, 373, and 375 Dune Road. A very exhaustive study. And with the exception of 373 Dune Road, which has a lot coverage of 20.3, every single property reviewed has lot coverage in excess of the 25.2 proposed herein, which is, again, we're not staying where we are. We're going to retrofit and come down to get to that, what we think is a neighborhood standard. We're not asking for anything other than what is by far the prevalent lot coverage in the area. Property to the immediate east, 334 Dune Road, has an existing lot coverage of 26.1. We're shade underneath that. And the property to the immediate west, 338 Dune Road, has an existing lot coverage of 41.9. So whether these are by variances or by pre-existing situation, they nevertheless establish the character of the neighborhood. So again, we don't think we're being aggressive. We've put our tail between our legs in terms of wanting to take up what's there that's problematic and just bring us back into what is the standard in the neighborhood. With respect to this proposed side yard setback of 9.8 feet, which Aram calls 10, but close enough for jazz, we looked at the 334 Dune Road property. The immediate east of the subject property has an elevated deck cabana 5 feet off the westerly property line. 338 Dune Road, there's a tennis court with a 12-foot high fence located 2.5 feet off the westerly property line. So the proposed retaining wall, again, located 9.8 feet from the property line, is not out of the character of the surrounding area. The adjacent lots, quite clearly, are significantly more non-conforming in terms of setback. And again, this is for an accessory structure. I think Aram demonstrated through the drainage calculations and the maintenance of the patio area to the pool will not cause any harm to the surrounding properties. I didn't see any evidence of trespass. If you're putting water onto a neighbor's property, that's a trespass. Didn't see any evidence of it. The fact that some of the photographs might have shown some of the neighboring properties as wet doesn't in and of itself mean that it came from our property. They would have to demonstrate that, and I think the proof that Aram very, very powerfully presented here shows that there's no water trespass from this property. I would submit that the maintenance of the raised patio adjacent to the pool provides practical access, reasonable usable area adjacent to the pool, but it also requires it provides the required support and fill to maintain the pool. I think it would be inappropriate for us to ask for something more than what prevails in the neighborhood, and that's all we're asking for. As my dear friend Gil Flanagan used to say when representing cases, you're holding us to a higher standard if we can't have essentially what the neighbors have, which are the same lot coverage, in some cases, in one case in particular, significantly less, and less impactful side yard setbacks. But we're here,
But we don't
obviously-
know how that came to be, do we?
yeah, what happened,
People-
to the extent that I can, and this is, I wasn't here when the original variance was permitted. It seemed that the placement of the pool was somewhat problematic,
Mhm.
and the placement of coverage around the pool was somewhat problematic. And I think probably, and again, this is just from conversations that I've heard, there should have been more study as to whether or not what the soil and the earth that was going to surround the pool would function. In other words, to stabilize and hold and retain that area around the pool. It hasn't functioned. It's shifted. Some of the infrastructure underneath it, as my client explains to me, has been impacted. So there were retaining walls put in. There should have been a permit for them. No question about that.
We do
and-
have some work done here without permits, right?
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah,
why
there's no-
we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Right?
That's why we're here.
There's a
yeah.
bit of a history on this
Yeah,
project.
no. There's a little bit more history that I kept learning as I got into
Uh-huh,
it. There's
yeah.
no question about it.
I
But
was here
again,
for all of it.
excuse me.
I've
I'm
been
sure
here
you
for
were.
all
Yeah.
of it.
But again, self-created
Wow.
hardship is
On this one.
not in and of itself a reason to deny the variance application. I think this is an application that, but for, that's something that you're looking at. But I think if this had come in before the work was done without a permit, it still would have been a very good variance application because it conforms to the neighborhood and it conforms to the setbacks and it conforms to the lot coverage. It's always unfortunate when people do things. Mr. Litt told me that I guess his contractor at the time was under the impression that mere stone didn't provide, create lot coverage. Shame on him. I'm not here to blame anybody. These are things that happen. There are varying definitions of what lot coverages is in various municipalities, but it doesn't matter. You're supposed to do it according to the book in the village of West Hampton Beach, and I respect that. But that's why we're here.
Mhm.
And again, self-created hardship in and of itself, not a reason. And again, I would say that if we were coming in here anew without having done that work, without the approval, I think it's still, based upon my experience and my knowledge of what the standards are, is still a good variance application because we're not trying to do anything other than what prevails in the neighborhood. And whether that was by variance, which two of them were on the adjoining properties, which actually, if I may, makes the case stronger. But whether it is by variance or by some pre-existing rights, it still is the character of the neighborhood, which again is the strongest of the factors that you have to look at. But again, we're here, to respond to any questions or comments or suggestions that the board has. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is a correspondence.
But just today. Yeah, sorry.
This is in response to a correspondence that was received this morning from one of the neighbors. I just thought the board should see it. It's very short, and I'll walk you through it very quickly.
That's the drill.
And this primarily deals with the drainage issue, the pipe that was mentioned earlier, and the pool equipment. So I went to the site at about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and if you look on photograph 1, this is a trench drain that was installed at the base of the pool house. As you can see, it's non-functional. It's raised above the concrete base, so there's really no way for water to get into it.
We didn't cap that.
Well, and that is proposed to be removed in its entirety as part of this project.
That was one of my questions coming up, Aaron.
Coming out.
But importantly, if you look at photo 2, this is that drainage pipe, and I think this is equally as important, if not more. This drain has never functioned. If you look at the ground below the pipe, there are no disturbances. The leaf litter is intact. Soil is intact. There's nothing has been disturbed, despite the fact that we had a very significant recent rainfall, which in my interpretation means that no water has flowed through this pipe. And no water will by the time we're done. you look at photo 3, where the water is, it's down in this southwest corner. It's being retained by that coping lip. So the slope of the whole project is from the north side where the tile is, it slopes down to where the artificial turf and French drain is going to be. And the evidence for that slope is the water collected in the southwest corner. And then lastly, just with the pool equipment, I was able to, while I was there, get a picture from the road without the vehicles. And you can see the pool equipment is well shielded from the road. And the last image is an aerial photo where I locate the pool equipment with respect to the houses on either side and speed 138 and 142 feet away. And quite frankly, the road noise there is a lot louder than the pool equipment could ever be. So I just wanted to make that part of the record. Thank you.
That drain, when I saw the photograph, I'm sorry, candidly, when I saw the photograph, I called my client and said, that's not good. But then Aram went out and looked at it, and Aram and I talked about it, and obviously we would encourage a condition that requires the removal of it, so that there's no issue that anyone's trespassing with the water onto the adjacent property.
Okay, so if this were to go forward with the variance grant, that would be part of it, to get rid of that completely.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
'cause that's
not
kind of
only
a-
would
Okay, that's a big.
have no problem with a condition like that, but I would suggest it, because we don't want to be in a situation where you're putting water on a neighbor's property, as your counsel will tell you, is a trespass, and we don't see any evidence of that, and we certainly don't want to even have any indication that that would be happening. But again, any other questions or comments or concerns, that's what we're here for.
Gentlemen, any other questions for Mr. Bennett or Aaron right now?
Yeah, John, I don't know where to start with this. There's so many twists and turns, here.
I understand it has a history, yeah.
First of all, on Aram's, report, with the neighboring properties.
I'm just trying to get ready to write this down.
Large lot coverage on some of these properties that are shown are because of tennis courts. Now, back in the 80s in the village, tennis courts were not, included in lot coverage.
Yep.
And, therefore they could be, right up to, within a couple of feet of in the rear yard or a side yard.
Yeah, the same pertained in the village of Southampton and the town of Southampton. It wasn't even a structure.
Okay, well, that, but I mean, somehow we got into the report, it skews the report.
Well, the only thing I would say about that, and I think that's one of the things that I did say, is that regardless of how the structures got there, whether by having the benefit of being a pre-existing non-conforming structure or by benefit of variance, they do nevertheless constitute the character of the neighborhood. But I understand. I'm not arguing with the legal distinction between pre-existing stuff and when a tennis court was a tennis court, when it was a structure or not. I'm not arguing with that. It's
Okay.
true. It's accurate. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in 2017 and 2018, when there were variances, before this board,
On this property?
on this
Okay,
property,
okay.
there was a variance granted for, I believe, a 2-foot wall on the west side.
Mhm.
Now, do I understand it properly that it's now a 5-foot wall?
5 feet. Yes, 5 feet.
Now, who made the decision and why and how?
The client, in conversation with the contractor, from what I've been able to told, said was that wall was not retaining the soil around the pool. It was creating issues of integrity. So the wall was placed in without the benefit of a permit. I agree. Yeah.
Okay, the same people that are on this application today, some of the same professionals, some of the same professionals were working on this application, back then.
Not me, but some of them.
No,
are. Yeah,
except yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering. I mean, this was not, this was a professional design, and I guess it failed.
It failed.
But the owner took it upon himself to not follow the plans that were approved by, by this board.
Well, I think, and I may have my history wrong, and I'm not absolutely sure of this, but I think he tried for a while and it didn't. Should he have come back here? Absolutely. There's no question about that. But again, it's not, it's not, as a matter of law, it's not the death knell to the application. If this was a use variance, it would be, but it's not. And I understand a lot of ire about people doing things without permits. I'm a homeowner. I don't like it when I've come into that situation. But one of the things I have said is if this property had been reviewed correctly and the neighborhood had been reviewed correctly, at least I feel, but it's based upon a lot of years' experience. If we had come in with this application to do exactly what we're doing now, I think it would have been a good application. It should have gone in done before you. Yes, I'm not here to make a.
John,
Yes.
you didn't know because you weren't here.
Okay.
This whole plateau area was a hotly contested and very highly discussed issue on that prior application. I remember.
I know. I understand
And
that.
I've
Yeah.
I've sat through 700 different hearings here, and that was one I remember because the size of the wall, the need for this plateau, all of that was discussed.
Right.
And the same owners were the same owners who then proceeded to change it
You're right.
after doing this.
Mhm.
And it was, it's not like it was an inadvertent, nobody thought about it. It was hotly contested and discussed. The whole thing and the need for why you have a clean slate. This wasn't this wasn't a locked in kind of project where they were just adding a little addition somewhere. It was a clean slate. This whole area was being like redone. So there was a lot of talk about how high the wall was going to be, what was going to go in between the wall. And so for the same owners to just a couple years later just took it on themselves to raise the wall, you understand it's a little more than just a self-created hardship.
No,
It is a
I-
intentionally self-created
Okay.
hardship.
Well, but when you come in any building without a permit, that this board, doesn't come in and say, okay, you don't want to have that policy. Okay, you built it without a permit. Fine, we're just going to give it a variance. That would not be a good thing. But certainly this board has granted permits for structures and buildings built without permits. So
No question. I just wanted you
yeah.
to know that was when you talk about it as a had the prior application contemplated this, he did.
Yeah,
The board did contemplate all of this stuff, and these decisions that were made with a lot of forethought.
I don't
not-
want to criticize any of my predecessors, but when I looked at this application, I candidly said, why weren't these arguments made about adjacent lot coverage? Why weren't these arguments made about side yard setbacks? And why wasn't, if you had a situation which clearly failed because there wasn't substantial retainage, maybe some more engineering may have gone into it, but should have gone into it, in my opinion. But I do understand, because I've been told by, I've been told by the building inspector, who always is very candid and transparent. John, there's a lot of discussion about this. I get it. I get it. So it's not just I'm coming in and saying, oh, it was a mere, oversight. It was. I get it. I understand that. But having said all of that, I still think it's a reasonable application, particularly given the character of the neighborhood. I'm not poo-pooing anything that went on, or the amount of time that the board went into analyzing this. I just don't. It seems to me, based upon my own later, through the benefit of hindsight, including a situation that failed, it seems like it could have been a better job done. And again, with the great fear I have of criticizing some professionals who were here before me, because it's always easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. But again, I think it's a a reasonable application. I wouldn't, given the history of it, I wouldn't mind, I fully understand the board being annoyed, though. I do. I'm not gonna try to run away from that. I get it.
Well, you're assuming the board is annoyed and use the word ire. You know, I don't really see it that way.
Oh, if I
You know,
mischaracterize
Well,
it, I,
it's,
you know,
it really isn't. I mean,
Okay.
you know, as professionals that we are, we look at it case by case
absolutely.
basis.
I wasn't
you know-
criticizing the board's, that's really important. I'm glad you brought that up, because I wasn't criticizing the board's view of it in the past. What I was saying is, with the benefit of hindsight, I think there could have been more probative and more complete review of this lot, which is, unlike some of the other lots, has less to work with. The development on the lots on either side is a little bit more generous to the north. I wasn't criticizing the
Well,
board's review.
as everyone has said, there has been a lot of review. It's been a lot of back
No
and
question
forth,
about it.
you know, with professionals, you know, on the owner's side, you know, the owner and, you know, and the board and in the building department. So
yeah.
everything's been upfront and it was laid out. The
Mhm.
decision was made. You know, permits were given. You know, a CO was given. You know,
Absolutely.
on the project when it was completed.
Mhm.
Shortly thereafter, I don't know when, year or two, 3 years, a month, who knows? You know,
Couple years, it
decision
seems like,
was
yeah.
was made. Okay, well, it's not working, and we're going to change everything.
Should have come back here.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Should have come back
Especially,
here.
you know, we see cases where people come before us and they put a utility shed, a garden shed in. They say, "Whoops, didn't realize." Okay, we get that.
Mm.
Here we're talking of something that is, you know, being thought about and against the decision, you know, that we made here. So it's, you know, it's difficult to, you know, to watch these things.
I understand. I don't really have any answer to that, other than to say that I wasn't being critical of the enormous amount of time that the board spent looking at it. I am, with a little bit of trepidation. I think that the board should have been presented with a more complete neighborhood analysis and analysis of the site itself. It doesn't seem to me that what you struggled with, and I understand it was a big struggle, because, as Tony said, it was a tabula rasa. You know, it was a site you were working with. There should have been more. You should have been provided with more information. I'm certainly not criticizing. Far from it to criticize the board. And yes, that is, you know, a dynamic that we have to overcome here, which is why Aram and I have spent a lot of time looking at the neighborhood. I will just say again that I think if this application came in without the very unfortunate circumstance that this retaining wall was built without the benefit of the permit, I still think it's a good application. So, and again, that's not at all. I'm certainly not criticizing the board. That's the
Now,
last thing I'm doing.
further to that,
Not only factually am I not criticizing the board, but that would be sort of silly of me anyway.
further to that, the pool equipment itself,
Yes.
originally behind the cabana,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know
and
about that.
now
I'm sorry.
moved to the property line.
Yeah, let me speak to that. Aram Tertunian, First Coastal, on behalf of the applicant. The pool equipment was located behind the cabana. Apparently, it had to be replaced 3 times for mechanical breakdowns. The reason that the pool company gave was the direct exposure to the sunlight was breaking down the materials. It's not on the property line. It's 10 feet from the property line, so it's actually a little more. It's like 11.
Okay.
And so I reviewed that with the building inspector, and my understanding, the standard is screening from the road, screening from the neighbors, and the building inspector makes the determination if that is an appropriate location.
Okay.
If the building inspector determines it isn't, then we'll move it.
Or if the board determines.
Or
it's
the
not,
board determines
we'll
it,
move it.
we'll move it.
Okay.
If it creates a problem, we'll move it.
Okay.
I mean, we're asking for relief. I'm not gonna be, we're asking for relief. If you want the pool
Right.
equipment moved, we're gonna move it.
I gotta go back to this retaining wall. The variance we gave was for a 24-inch retaining wall, and now it's 5 feet. Is that, we don't have that in any application to do anything with that?
There's some, there's some facts, in the packet to indicate,
Yeah.
yes.
But not in the application per se.
So it's maybe not crystal, I mean, that is the crux of the application.
Right.
Is the original site plan had this 2-foot wall, and the pool was in a conforming location with the 20 feet. And this was supposed to be graded up to a point where the pool patio was beyond the 20 feet. And so that's why your original survey and today's survey, they don't look very
Okay.
different, because you have to look at top of wall, bottom of wall, because the wall hasn't moved. You just built the wall on top of it and effectively extended that patio to a part that wasn't in the prior relief. So it is a little unclear, what this is. I know that the relief sought is for a patio within the setback and lot coverage, because we didn't count the earth in the lot coverage originally, and then the patio was set back further from the property line. The original relief didn't give relief for the patio or pool. That could be in the front yard on the north side of Dune Road. But by extending that wall up and extending the patio out to meet it, that is the offending area. So yes, it's not crystal clear we're talking about a retaining wall here,
Mhm.
but it is part and parcel of the same thing.
Okay.
But
Brett,
I kind of
thanks.
remember that being the argument, that the wall could be put to a certain height and then graded up, because that was, what everybody was concerned about, creating this plateau there. And the argument then was, we'll keep the wall low and then grade it up.
Mhm.
Now they've just gone straight over basically and made a nice patio for themselves. You say it's because it started failing. There's no engineer saying that. And when it was presented to the board back then, this was a proper engineered plan that it could be graded up gradually. How is the board supposed to determine that that's an engineering problem as opposed to just the clients wanted a flatter and bigger patio?
Well, maybe the best
mean-
thing to do is the client took a lot of photographs historically of what actually happened to the soil in the area. Maybe we should come back again and show you what actually happened, how it did fail.
Or have an engineer say,
Okay,
it's impossible to do it the way it was designed. I
okay.
mean, because that might answer your question. If the argument is it wasn't working, wouldn't an engineer be the person to say it can't work
I
or
understand.
wasn't built right or whatever the answer is?
No,
It's a little easier to hear that from a PE than from people who just built it because they wanted a bigger patio.
I agree. And so why don't we try to come back and demonstrate?
And I don't want to hijack the other comments. The board
No,
might
no,
have
no, no,
many
no,
other
but I
comments,
think
No,
but
thanks,
it's
Tom,
appropriate.
because that was my question about this whole thing.
it was a big deal.
Yeah.
That
No,
idea
it's
of grading it up was a big deal back then, and now that's what's disappeared. So,
I understand fully. This has more arms and fingers in it than I first understood, and I'm learning that as day by day. So we'd like to take a look at demonstrating how despite the fact all the energy and effort the board put into it, the solution just didn't work. That's why we're here.
So you want us to hold it over then, Mr. Bennett?
If you would.
Okay, but before we do that, are you guys finished? We have any more questions for them right now, Joe?
I'm done.
Because I want to see if there's anybody, we had, a lot of neighbors were concerned with mostly with the runoff of the water.
That's how I
Anything,
heard
the noise from the pool, the pool equipment. Is there anybody here that needs to elaborate on anything that's going on here tonight?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Susan Wilson.
Susan, I need you to come up here to speak into the microphone. Just get that singing voice going for us and thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Wilson. I'm at 338 Dune Road.
Okay.
And
36,
I
38.
came to the meeting in June and
Let me
followed
just
up
get this straight. You're the neighbor to the west?
to the west.
Okay.
Um,
You have the tennis court, right?
we have the
That's-
tennis court, which
Uh-huh.
is right next to the retaining wall.
Mhm.
And we owned the house back in 2017 also, when we had also come to the zoning board meeting and were concerned. I believe, if I remember correctly, they were originally asking for a 7-foot wall. And it was not permitted by the board. honestly, I don't remember it ever being 2 feet. I only learned at this meeting that it was supposed to be a 2-foot wall. I remember it being I never measured it myself, but approximately a 5-foot wall in many locations, and other locations a 2-foot wall.
Mhm.
And now it's a 5-foot wall across, all the way across.
Okay.
When the wall was originally put in back in 2017, we did have issues with drainage onto our tennis court, causing like a slippery area on that one side of the tennis court. And we had contacted the owner to ask if he'd be willing to, um, assist with helping the drainage.
Mhm.
And at the time, he had said no, and so we did it ourselves. We put in a French drain of our own, and it resolved most of the problem. It's much better than it was, but now we're worried again. It seems to be happening once again, that there's more drainage, more water on that side of the court, and there's slippery areas. We had to put in additional hard true from our tennis court guy, put in additional hard true in that area because it is a slipping hazard over there. That's the drainage that we're worried about.
Mhm.
The pool equipment was never a problem where it had been originally by their cabana, but now where it is right now, it is really feels very close to our tennis court. And so close that we actually hear the motor running. The motor seems to run 24/7. I've never heard it off. And yes, there is noise from the street. Of course, there's cars on the street. We hear that noise too. That's just part of a neighborhood. But the humming of the motor is definitely notable when you're on the tennis court. Um, Aside from that, there were pictures taken that showed that it's very well landscaped
Mhm.
around it so that you're not really seeing it. But from our vantage point from the tennis court, you're very much seeing it. I submitted pictures at the last meeting that you're very much seeing the pool equipment. And so if it was shielded from our view, and if it was if we weren't hearing it, that would certainly be, much more acceptable to us.
So what would you actually be looking for?
I don't want to hear it, and
shielding and-
I don't really want to see it, and I don't really want to hear it. So it could be good landscaping around it.
Okay.
But that raises another problem, which I forgot to mention about the drainage, which is that any mature trees that we had on that property in that dividing line are no longer alive. There's just too much water and runoff there that they just can't seem to survive there. So we do have nice grasses. Those are okay, but the trees don't survive. So I'm not even sure what you can actually put in that will like shield it well enough and that will be able to survive the conditions. But that's, if it could be done, then, that would be if the water wasn't running onto our property, that would be acceptable to us. The retaining wall is fairly unsightly. I know right now it's just cinder block, but I know it's supposed to be stuccoed, but it's not especially attractive to look at the stucco either. But I had some notes. I'm just looking up if I mentioned everything. No, that was basically it. Those were the things. So the pool equipment that's unsightly and loud, and the runoff on the tennis court, which is causing
Right.
slippery spots, and that the trees can't really survive in that location.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Aaron, Mr. Bennett?
No, we'll come back. We'll come back if that's okay with you, and try to respond to some of these
Okay.
questions, and that's okay.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to hold this over for all purposes to our next
Second.
meeting. Second by Joe.
Is there any
Okay.
possibility, if I may, I have, when is October, when would that be?
It's gonna be the third Thursday in October.
That's,
I can look it up.
can we go to November, is that okay? 'Cause
October 15th.
You wanna go to November?
If that's okay, because I have a,
Yeah, we could go.
really significant conflict.
We can hold it over to November.
That's, I would greatly appreciate
Okay, so we'll, is that okay with the board members? Hold this over to November, right? Okay,
it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
you too.
Enjoy what's left of the summer. Try to keep your heads
Good.
down.
Well, thank you all for coming. We've run out of time and. All righty. Held over.
Till November.
This is October.
Could have come in September, no?
Mr. Bennett, John? This is August. We could hold, you're not gonna be here in September?
Yeah,
You wanna go to November, we're correct?
okay, I just.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
However, 2 months coming up. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no,
not-
no.
That's my problem, that's not
No, no,
yours. but-
November's okay. I just thinking that this is not September, it's only August, so.
Agenda's full enough, November sounds good.
Okay. All right, okay, we're good. All righty. All right. Okay, number 7, Blue 2 LLC, 27 School Street. Applicant seeks variance from 197.7B for proposed 2-lot subdivision where the proposed lot areas of 12,817 and 14,764 square feet, where the minimum required is 20,000 square feet. And from 197.7D for proposed side yard setback from existing dwelling to a proposed lot line of 11.7 feet, where the minimum required is 20 feet.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Heather Wright for the applicant, 48H Main Street, West Hampton Beach. So
Yes.
when we were here last month, I believe there was questions from the board about what exactly, I guess you wanted clarification about what exactly was submitted to the health department and what exactly was, is the health department aware and what they understand the application to be. So I submitted to you all, you should have received a letter prepared by our engineer, who's here to answer any questions that you might have after having read that letter. But, you know, just to reiterate and clarify, you know, we were completely transparent with the health department in that we submitted a proposed subdivision map showing, you know, the part of our lot, just as to refresh your memory, is lot 7.3. So we showed a map that proposes to subdivide lot 7.3 into 2 lots, but also legalize the lot line modification between lot 7.3 and 7.2, which, as you know, was approved by the village back in 1989, but was not approved by the health department at that time. So the health department is fully aware of the project, and when we were here at the planning board, it was a little confusing, right? We had 3 lots, we had lot line modification, so it was suggested that, you know, what the village is concerned about here is the proposed 2-lot subdivision that we're here to discuss with you, and that the lot line modification is really between the applicant and the health department because that was approved by the village. So I submitted this letter for clarification for you. Like I said, our engineer's here to answer any questions. I also submitted 5 letters in support of our proposed application from homeowners in the neighborhood, homeowners on School Lane, homeowners on School Street, who support this application. So, I mean, I'm happy to kind of go through our arguments again. I don't know if the board needs that. I mean, we spent a lot of time at the last meeting, so I'll take direction from you as to what additional information you would like us to provide.
Well, one of the concerns that I have, and I would like you to address this again, is you're in the R2 district. You're gonna subdivide this lot, and it would be substandard in the R4 district. So these are significant percentage of variances on these size of the properties. So how do you, How do you
Mr. Chairman,
justify
that's true. If the board feels that I think we talked about this a little bit last time, if the board feels that the proposed variances are substantial, I can't argue with that. I mean, that's the
Well,
numbers.
that's the fact,
the
yeah.
numbers.
right?
But I think we showed, and I'm happy to go through it again, that what we're proposing, the character of the neighborhood here overwhelmingly supports the size of the lots that we're proposing. We submitted, I think it was 11 parcels on School Street, School Lane, and Potunk that are smaller than the lots, or equal to or smaller than the lots that we're proposing, and substandard both for this zoning district and for the R4 zoning district. So you know, again, this is a balancing test, so there's 5 factors, and, you know, substantiality is one of them, but character of the neighborhood and the other factors, I believe here we satisfy those, and that would, you have to look at all of them together when you balance the health, safety, and welfare of the community against what we're asking for here. So, and I mean, 2 of those lots on 25 School Street, which is adjacent to our lot, is 14,900 square feet, and 17 School Street is 16,900, both substandard for the zone that we're in.
Right, and how long have they been like that? So we look at that, obviously, there was no variance given.
Correct, but again, I
that.
mean, not to reiterate what Mr. Bennett said, because we've talked about the character of a neighborhood a lot,
A lot about it,
but
yes, you know.
but it still does, it still is the character of the neighborhood, right? So although those lots weren't created by variances,
Right.
it you know, that is one factor that the board has to look at here, and I believe what we're proposing is consistent with the character of the neighborhood.
Okay. I think you answered my question. You don't deny the fact that that is substantial, which is one of the 5 factors.
Correct, but that's one of 5 factors.
One of 5 factors, yes. Okay. Good.
Now, you know, further on that, you know, most of those properties that you point out, you know, is it fair to say that that they are pre-existing, non-conforming?
Yes, they were not created by variance, again, and
Right.
I'm not arguing with the board about that, and I understand that. But again, when you're looking at the factors, I'm looking at what, you know, is this gonna have a negative impact on the character of the neighborhood? And I would argue no, because the lots we're creating are consistent with the size of many of the lots in the neighborhood.
Well, I think we're all trying to move the needle forward, not backwards. That's, you know, one of the things that we look at. Also, the immediate neighborhood, you know, I get that. Although the properties, you know, right around, you know, this application, you know, are that size or larger. But when you transition from R1 to the south, and then you go into R2, I mean, that's a clear transition, lesser lot coverage, you know, smaller properties, you know, and such. That R2 district, you know, goes into Liberty Street. It goes into what's the street by the school? I'm trying to think now. Yeah, Lilac goes Lilac, Beach Road, Woodland Avenue. You know, if I were a developer, you know, I would be looking for property, you know, in those areas to subdivide, you know, existing old houses. It leaves a door. My point is, it leaves a door open, because it's not just the few houses that are around, you know, this application, but the entire R2 district.
But I don't think the entire R2 district is what the village considers the neighborhood, because I'm only noticing, I mean, all of the properties, pretty much all the ones that I listed in my papers are properties that we noticed that the village believes is the neighborhood, right? So I don't think you can include the, you know, Lilac and properties that are far away from the property that we're talking
She's
about
right.
here.
I don't think the village identifies the neighborhood as people, you know, just to get noticed.
Well, I mean, those are the people that have the interest in the application.
I think everybody in the village has an interest, to be honest with you, and certainly Liberty, you know, is a block away. I mean, that would be in the neighborhood as far as I'm concerned, and they're larger lots, you know, in there. And under these, you know, based on this application, some of those lots could be subdivided.
But this lot was once 2 lots. So essentially, what we're doing is we're taking a lot now that was, you know, yes, it's 1 lot now, but we're putting it back to 2 lots, which existed at the time these other lots were created prior to zoning. We're creating lots that are consistent with what exists.
That was decades ago. I mean, I wish I could buy pizza for 25 cents a
No,
slice.
I hear you. I mean,
You know.
but again, I think this is a unique situation in which we had 2 lots. They merged. We're trying to clear up a lot line modification, not only for for my clients, but for the adjacent parcel, as they're trying to do some development on their property, and we need to, fix this, work with them to make that happen. So we think this is a unique set of circumstances. A property on Lilac wasn't once two lots. This was.
I don't know how strong that case is, Heather, that was a long time ago.
I hear your position, and
I think your strength is the neighborhood, but still it's a small area, and when you look at, R2, especially when you just start going a little further out from School Street and School Lane and get into Lilac and into Liberty, it's not that far away, and they're similar properties. And as the chairman pointed out, the R4 district, has more stringent, lot coverage, specifications than this.
right, but this isn't that. I mean, I'm trying to, look, you might not agree with me, but I think that the neighborhood is the surrounding parcels, and I think we cast a wide net here when we noticed, at least 16 different parcels. 11 of them were of this size or smaller. So, I mean, my personal opinion is that that is the character of the neighborhood, and I think it's supported by the fact that this was once two lots.
Well, again, we can't move forward if we're going, we can't move forward if we're going back to pre-existing non-conforming properties and saying, okay, look over here, this is what we have.
But we did do this on Hazelwood with 25 and 27 Hazelwood. We had one lot that was not buildable, and we did a lot line modification to allow two lots that were now buildable lots that were did not meet the zoning.
Okay.
We did, but that was also R4.
I know it was R4, but it's a similar example in which if the board hadn't granted the lot line modification, that one lot would not have been buildable.
But the substantiality of that variance was a lot less because of the difference in the zone. The R4 zone requires 15,000 feet.
Right, but maybe in that case, that factor was more important for the board, given the other lots in the neighborhood and the size of the other lots in the neighborhood. But here, the lots are very similar, if not the same size as what we're proposing. And I think that factor, when you look at the balancing test, supports the variances that we're requesting.
I don't have anything to come back. We already stated everything on both sides there, I think. Huh, Heather?
Well, look, if you have any questions for our engineer about the health department, we're happy to answer them. If there's any other questions from you or from the
Sure,
public.
fine. So what you're basically saying is this is the character of the neighborhood, and it won't create an adverse change to it.
Correct.
Obviously, there's an alternative that you don't do it. Leave it
Right.
as it is, right? It's substantial, there's no question. Okay, with the character of the neighborhood, it's not gonna have an environmental effect.
Correct.
So those are the first four, you kind of split those four, huh? All right. Anybody else up here have anything? I think we'll probably have,
Tony does.
huh?
Tony does.
Tony?
We still have to address seeker because this
Seeker
is
on this
not,
one?
this is not a type 2 action. So
Ah,
what I think we're gonna do is, because the planning board also has to do seeker, we'll ask the village planner to do an EAF, which is the environmental assessment form that needs to
Okay.
be done by, and we're gonna do an uncoordinated review. So you'll do your own secret decision, the planning board will do its own, but we'll have to get you, the village planner will have to get you an environmental assessment form to review. So we can't close it today for that
Okay.
reason.
all right, I'll notice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to say that, but
Me
it's not,
too.
you were anxious to close the hearing, but
All
can't do it yet.
Okay,
There were people out there.
yeah, we're gonna go there, you bet.
So,
Okay, so we can't close that because of what Tony
Tony
just
just
said,
said.
okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay.
Thank you for
You
that.
could, I don't know if anybody else is.
We do have people that want to say something, so folks in the audience, did I see somebody wanted to get up and make a comment here? Please do, come on up. And, just for the sake of our recording, please speak into the microphone as much as possible.
Hi, good evening. My name is Leslie Bridgman Schmay. My mother, Marcia Palmer, spoke last month at this meeting, and she is here with me. I grew up in West Hampton Beach, and my family has been in the area for generations. My husband and I are empty nesters, and we spend many months of the year at my mom's home on School Street, 34 School Street. This request for a lot size variance has been so upsetting for my mother and for me. We adore our neighbors, Kim and George Monsieur, but we are really not happy with their plan to wedge in another home on our street. Our family feels that this kind of non-conforming subdivision is very bad for our community and is the reason the town zoning board established lot size and setback requirements. I understand that the lots on School Lane are being used as a comparison and justification. I feel School Lane is an outlier from the past. There are a dozen or more homes in the immediate area and on the surrounding streets on South Road, School Street, and on Liberty Street that are all on lots more than a half acre. This includes our family home, which is across the street, and each of the homes abutting the one seeking the variance. I understand that the small lots on School Lane are grandfathered and non-conforming in size relative to the current zoning requirements. Why would the town want to go backwards by approving a subdivision that doesn't meet current requirements when those requirements were established specifically to prevent this kind of high-density development? If this subdivision is approved, what's to stop other homes in the area from following this precedent and doing the same thing? I understand variances are often requested and approved, particularly when pre-existing conditions bump up against more recently established zoning requirements. And we have no problem with this kind of accommodation, which is usually related to setbacks. I heard at the last meeting that this lot was once divided, so this request is being positioned as a re-subdivision. However, a meaningful portion of the lot was carved off and sold after the two prior existing lots were united. So the current proposal is not to return them to a prior condition, but instead to an even smaller size, essentially making a pre-existing condition much worse. I respectfully ask the zoning board to hold the line and to maintain its establishment lot size requirement on our street and in our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Leslie Bridgman Chemay. My dad was Ted Bridgman.
Okay.
He died when I was 15, but and my aunt was Blair Rogers.
Thank you. Anybody else right now? Come on down.
Hi, Lou Ferrano, 30 South Road.
Ah.
I think,
You were here last month too, right?
yes, I was.
Go ahead.
I think Ms. Chemay said it perfectly. I just want to say I'm still opposed. It'll be bordering my property, which is almost 2/3 of an acre, and I think this is less than 1/3 of an acre. And I think the lots that were selected, as I mentioned last time, I think are a bit cherry-picked. The lots surrounding this house are all close to 1/2 an acre. I also think it'll impact my property value, our privacy, my family over there. It will take down, I think it will affect the neighborhood because right now it's all trees. And obviously if they're going to put a structure there, 90% of those trees are gone. So I think it does impact. I also note this was just purchased about a year ago from a deceased neighbor, I think in a private transaction. It was turned into a short-term rental, maybe an Airbnb, and now it wants to be divided. I assume to not either sell it to somebody else or what have you. But it seems like, when they purchased it, they should have known it was one lot. When I purchased my house in 2014, I don't know what the health code is versus the other structure, but I saw it as one lot, so I never thought it could be subdivided. And I hope you don't choose to allow them to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Right now, this isn't being closed tonight, just everybody should be aware of that also, so. Nothing else? Heather?
Yeah, just three quick points that I just want to make. One, there was a mention of setbacks. I just want to put it on the record and make it clear to the board that if this variance were to be granted, obviously the homeowner would have to abide by the current zoning setbacks for any development on the property.
Oh, yeah.
And they're committed to that, obviously. So I wanted to say that. And then the other thing, and maybe there's just some confusion about how setbacks, I just want to clarify. So if this lot weren't subdivided, we could still, we could still develop the property, and we'd have a very large building envelope. And I have a survey showing what the building envelope looks like on an unsubdivided lot. So no matter what, there's no restriction on removing the vegetation that's there. Obviously, we'd have to abide by the principal and accessory structure setbacks. So development's going to get close to, the neighboring parcels regardless, subject to the setbacks. So
Right, so there's no denying the fact that the
Yeah.
property owner could develop it to its maximum
be
ability.
within, the
Yeah.
20-foot, accessory structure setback,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, principal structure setback on, the lot. And finally, just one other point I wanted to make about whether this would create a precedent. I just want to, I mentioned, I think I said it last time, but I don't think this would create a precedent in other areas and on other streets for one reason, which is the health department already recognizes this as two lots. If it didn't, we wouldn't be able to do the subdivision, because it would require more square foot, more lot area for the health department. But here they recognize it already as a subdivision as two lots. So we don't need any further
Do you have that in writing anywhere from the health department?
You have, why don't you come up?
Daniel Velasco.
Yes.
The question, I believe if I could explain this again, the health department, when they reviewed our application, looks at the 1981 tax map. This was a lot at that time. It's still a decision of the village as to whether or not a house be built or if you do the subdivision. That's really where it's at. The health department does recognize it. As a matter of fact, I believe as part of our submission, we gave you the notice of incomplete application, which basically just asked for a couple of items. One of them being the secret determination by a board in the village. So that's what the health department looks at.
So I'm a little bit off here.
Go ahead.
All I asked was, do you have something in writing that says what Heather said about the health department approving this subdivision?
No, they haven't approved it yet. They can't approve it unless you approve it through a secret with a secret determination.
Okay, so what were you
But-
saying, Heather? What
Yeah,
was,
let me-
what-
But they're not looking at this to require their minimum 20,000 square feet. They would allow the lesser square footage because the property existed on the 1981 tax map.
right,
Right, what we're essentially asking the health department to do is to recognize the lot line modification, which occurred in '89, which was not approved at that time by the health department. But their 1980, as far as they're concerned, their 1981 tax map shows two lots on the property, but it's two lots that include that transfer piece that has since been transferred
Okay.
to, does that make sense?
yeah, so.
Okay, yeah.
And to further that, what the health department is looking at is the fact that there were 3 lots within a boundary, and there are still 3 lots within a boundary. That's basically what if the subdivision was approved.
What's the third one?
What happened at some point in time, there was a transfer between
Yeah,
a property that, I forget the tax map numbers, but Thank you, 19 School Lane. There was a lot line modification done. That lot line modification never went before the Board of Health. So what the Board of Health is saying, when we went in for our application, which we thought was going to be just a two-lot subdivision, putting things back, putting the lot that we're trying to create back to exactly what it was in the 1981 tax map number, the Health Department turned and said, hey, wait a minute, what happened here? How come this lot line changed? And our surveyor then did a little more research and said, yeah, there was a lot line modification made. So what's happening now is our
What's that?
neighbor also has to be part of our application with the health department. Not part of the application with this board, because somebody in the village already approved that lot line modification. But the health department is saying, you gotta put them all together and then we'll straighten out the lot lines.
When was that done?
1989.
Okay.
Okay.
I know it's.
I don't know that
as-
it's all that relevant to what you guys have to do,
I-
to worry about what the health department, because the health department doesn't deal with merger of lots. They have their own regs, and so I don't know that I want to
understand
get
that.
this board too bogged down in something may be legal in the eyes of the health department, doesn't mean it's legal in the eyes of the village, and vice versa. Might be, not legal in the eyes of the health department, which is the lot line modification wasn't recognized by the health department, but it was recognized by the village. So
We couldn't get, we couldn't.
I know,
get-
but I don't, what I'm saying is I don't think that it really, the health department part of it has much to do with what you guys have to do, personally. I think it's a slippery slope because it's sort of mixing some things that were beneficial to them in the health department view versus some things that aren't. And it's just, let's just apply our own regs.
Yeah, the health department can't put this back to 1981 unless this board or some board in the village does it. In other words, we're still looking with the health department, they still consider this two lots. The lot that didn't include the transfer, going back to something in 1981. So this board is still the ultimate board.
For point of clarity, your application with the health department now, is it only for a lot line modification with 19 School Lane? No.
No.
It's for a subdivision.
That is 100% correct. It's for a 3-lot subdivision, substantially putting it back to the 1981 tax map, except for that transfer that happened between, I think you said 19 School Street and that. That's basically what it is. For the owner of 19 School Street to do anything on his property, he's going to have to straighten it out if this doesn't straighten it out.
We're not concerned about
Yeah,
that.
no,
Like,
what
let's
I'm
not-
saying is
let's
it's
not-
that.
That's why I'm
Okay.
saying we're getting so far afield of what this board has to do by worrying about what the health department is doing,
I
that it's
think,
getting a little,
I think for the purposes
getting confusing.
of this board, all we're saying basically is that this lot did exist at one point in 1981, up until 1989. That's what we're saying.
Thank you.
Okay?
Okay. You had another point?
I just had a comment about the setback. I know that they can build within 20 feet, but the point is, if they have the existing lot, if they want to knock down that house and build a brand new house, feel free. But the value of this small lot compared to the value of my property will be brought down. Meaning the size of the house they can build is gonna be very small because the lot size is very small. Whereas if they want to build within 20 feet of my.
Okay, so if
property
they
line,
want- I
if it's a
understand.
New house, feel free, knock it down and build a beautiful new
Well-
house. But right now, the property values compared to what using Zillow are gonna be, it's gonna be disproportionate.
Okay. All right. We're getting a lot of things. Tony, we have to see, we can't close it anyway.
You
Brad,
can't
you wanna
close it.
Say something? I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted that clarification. The application of the health department is just a lot line modification, it's irrelevant to this, but that's.
Irrelevant, good. Okay.
I would say keep it open just for 1 month, because we might be able to get the planner to put together the secret documents, in which case it'd be ready before the next meeting.
Okay.
It can be reviewed, and then you could entertain closing the hearing.
Good, thank you. Okay, so I don't know if everybody heard that. We're gonna keep this open for one more month. At least one more month, hopefully one more month, because we have to get the secret determination before we can do anything else.
What's the secret determination?
It's the environmental.
So in a lot line modification is a type 2 action that no determination of significance needs to be held. A subdivision is either a unlisted action or type 1 action if you're doing a large subdivision. For minor subdivision, it's going to be an unlisted action, which means
Yeah.
no board, no involved agency or can act without some agency, or that agency making a determination of significance first. So it's either a positive determination of significance or a negative determination of significance. And then only with that determination, if it's negative, you can go ahead and make, the board can vote or act on it. If it's a positive, then there's typically other hurdles that you have to provide other information that the board's deems fit.
Mhm.
A minor, we're not gonna prejudge anything, but no board could close or act until that board, someone makes either a lead agency makes a negative determination, or each individual board makes some sort of secret findings on the application, if it's within that.
So we have to wait for the EAF. Okay. All righty, so we're gonna hold this over for all purposes. Do I have any more comments that wants to get made here tonight? Okay, you all can come back here next month if you like. In the meantime, you're okay with that? I'll make a motion, we just hold this over for all purposes.
Second.
Second by Jimmy, all in favor?
And just for the public's benefit, you may want to check before next month, because if for some reason the seeker is not done, it'll be automatically held over to the following month. So that way you wouldn't have, you could either call Megan or check the website, but probably call Megan to find out.
Best to call my office, we try to get the agenda on the website at least Friday of the meeting, but it's always best to call or email someone in my office.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way you don't have to waste it.
Waste the
Same,
trip.
same for the applicant. You wouldn't have to waste a trip
Okay,
unless you're gonna be here anyway.
okay. Thank you all. All righty. We are on number 8 now. Francis and Dorothy Vitale, 513 Dune Road. So, who's here for 513 Dune Road?
Jeff Sands.
Huh?
Jeff Sands.
Ah, here he is. Okay. So we read this in last month with all the different variances, and you went home and sharpened your pencil up, and
Yes,
you're back with us
we
again.
did a little research.
Good.
And so we did an aerial photo from the town of Southampton 2025 records, and just to compare our house versus compared to the neighboring homes. That's in the packet. So basically, I have several different color lines. It's just showing how our house is, really set back from the other homes, all in the neighborhood. There really aren't any houses closer to the street, except from down here. So we have.
You know what? I gotta take you back 1 second. Just, can you go back to the microphone so we can hear? I know you're trying to show us that, which is great, but you can hold it up from there. And just, once again, state your name.
Sorry,
No,
Jeff Sands.
Jeff Sands?
I'm the architect for the client.
Okay, thank you. I know you were here last month, and
Yes,
we
sorry about
all
that.
want to just keep it all, so we all have that on record, okay? So,
Yeah, so
now, Jeff, you're gonna take everything down, right, and start with
correct,
you're
because
gonna
the
start with a
house,
clean slate, right?
the house has to go up to conform to FEMA. So we can't reuse the piles or anything, so everything's gotta go up. So yeah, it's clean slate,
Clean slate, okay,
right.
Good.
So,
good, okay, take it away. I interrupted you.
okay, no problem. So we were just, comparing the house to the neighboring home. This is looking from the, our deck at
Mhm.
513, the existing back of the house, looking at the neighbor's house, looking here. So the house, our house is basically about, say, 10 feet back, maybe about 8 feet back behind the first floor. The second floor overhangs at like about 2 more feet, so it's about 10 feet from the back of the neighbor's house at 511. So what we're planning to do, I know we had our house inched forward about 3 feet at the last meeting. So what we did to the house is we brought the back of the wall, the back of the house back to where we are now. We shifted the whole house back. We took square footage out of the house, took 2 feet out of the house, a foot out of the deck. We can't go any closer to the street because we can't fit the septic system in.
You can't go closer to the street because what?
Sanitary system.
Sanitary system?
Sanitary system takes up the entire front yard.
Okay.
So, and we can't make a smaller sanitary system either. It's the smallest one.
Using the existing sanitary system that's there then?
No, it's a new system
New system,
for a
and
new
yet
house.
that's still gonna be where it is, and you can't go any closer to the road.
No, I even tried to scrape a foot out of it, and my engineer said it's just impossible.
Okay?
So we took, we took as much as we could out of the house, as much as we feel we could take. So our proposed lot coverage is less than the existing lot coverage. The house is about the same size, maybe a little bit smaller than the existing house now. So, even with, we looked at what the house would be if we conformed to lot coverage.
Right.
And, with what was left over, in assuming there would be some decks, we would be entitled to 1,660 square feet. And that would be for decks and a house. So, we would be left with probably under 1,000 square foot home, which I feel would be out of character of the neighborhood for sure. It would be the smallest. It would be the
Yeah, we're not
smallest
gonna
house in the
argue
neighborhood.
about that, I'll tell you. A Dune Road house that's 800 square feet is not gonna fly. too much.
Right? I mean, like the house
Yeah.
next door. The house next door is a lot larger. Just they benefited from a different dune crest location, so
Mhm.
that house is a lot bigger and the coverage is a lot larger than our coverage.
So
So
how much you expanding what you have now?
we're
Let's
going
think-
down.
You're going down. So you're gonna reduce the nonconformity that you have now.
Yep, we're
How
roll
much? Yeah, let's talk about how much. Can you, you know,
1%.
here we go, look at, what's that?
It comes out to about 1%. It's
1%. So let's talk about your front yard setback. Right now, what do you have right now with the existing survey?
Existing survey. The house is, it doesn't have that setback on there. It is on there, sorry.
Brad
it's a
Doubles has a
It's a
sound
little
engineer.
small, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
The existing house is 57.5 feet, the existing house. And so we're going to 52.4.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's what it was at the last meeting.
Right,
So
so,
that hasn't changed.
right, so we basically kept the front and we kept pushing it because we can't make the septic any smaller.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
So-
that's, why don't we just go, do you mind if we just go, down the list?
That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things on here, with side yard,
Exactly, you got
front
a lot of
yard.
variances here. So you said that the lot coverage was going down. Now, 30.3, that's the
Currently.
former application.
Right, and it's also the existing house, so we were matching the lot coverage on the last round.
All right, so it's still 30.3.
No, now it's 29.4.
All right, so less than 1% difference.
correct.
And the front yard setback, that's the same.
That's staying the same.
Side yard setbacks,
Those are staying the same,
same.
and same as existing
What's
house
the
as
width of
well.
this property? I mean, this like
50.
50-foot wide, right?
50 feet.
50 feet,
50-foot wide piece of property.
right,
Uh,
50-foot setbacks.
Right.
Rear yard setback, crest of the dune,
So we moved the deck 3 feet away, further away from the dune.
so it's 50.3 now?
It's, the deck is 39.1. That back of the house went from 53.3 to 56.3.
Okay,
Yeah, so that basically, the whole back section of the house moved 3 feet.
what is your first floor coverage? You know, deck and habitable space.
The whole first floor is, with deck and everything, 2,441.
And the habitable was around 1,500 and something?
It's about 1,500, correct?
Would you say 2471?
2441.
2441. And so that's mirrored on the second floor also?
There's some ins and outs, but yeah, the house comes in around 3,000 square feet.
Okay. And the side yards are still,
It matches the existing house, so yeah, 9.9, and then currently there's a 3-foot walkway on the side of the house, but we're covering that, but that's the 6.5.
right,
And we're having the side, the entrance to the house is on that side with the covered porch,
and
basically.
that house is still 30 feet wide?
Yes, it's exactly the same size house, basically. We're just basically just rebuilding it in the same spot.
Now, you know, since it's a clean slate, you know, can we get a little more movement, you know, and reduce this a little bit to bring it, you know, somewhere, you know, within the standards? I mean, can we get the 13-foot
I mean-
side yards for a 24-foot wide house?
How much side yards?
13?
I really don't think so.
I mean, just movement at 1% is really not much here.
It makes a big difference on the inside of the house,
I'm sure it does, but you have 50 feet to work with.
which is like nothing.
I know.
I mean, a 30-foot wide house as it is, I mean,
Yeah,
they're all 30 feet wide.
I get it.
So I can't imagine going any narrower with the house. I mean, the existing house is 30 feet wide, so. No,
I mean,
I
you're
don't-
really just replicating what's there from the
and
past.
lifting it up, making it FEMA compliant, new septic system. Yeah, I mean, we're replacing what's there to current code. That's basically what we're doing.
Yeah, I personally like to see it, you know, reduced a little more. I don't know what the rest of the board, would like, but
I mean, but you can see the size of the house next door. I mean, it's substantial and it's the same size lot. I can't imagine our house being that much smaller, than the neighbor. We're already looking into the side of their house. They look over the back porch. It just,
You
to
know,
me,
when we get houses, when we get applications like this on Dune Road with a clean slate to doing it, we're trying to minimize the variance, not necessarily, restoring all of the variances that were there before. And that's the whole purpose of what we're doing. We're trying to pull things further away from the crest of the dune and keep the side yards as much as we can. I mean, that's, and this house has a very narrow piece of property on Dune Road. Right? This is substantial. So have you ever done the percentages of what's there and what you want? Because here in R3, they're gonna have to have a 100-foot width.
right.
You have a
When-
50-foot.
When this current house was built, the dune was 60 something feet further out. So, it was.
Okay, I
you know,
understand that. The dune does move,
So
but
we've
what about,
actually,
what about the side yard setbacks?
it's the same width as I know of the house next door as well. So
Well, your property is half of what it should be width-wise, right?
agreed.
If you're supposed to have 20 feet on each side, and I think 50-foot total, right? Lot three? Yeah, side, 20 feet on each side and 50 feet total. So you should be making an argument that our lot is half the size of what it should be, so we should get 10 feet on either side and 25-foot total by percentages, and you're not even coming close to that. You follow what I'm saying?
I understand. Yeah, I hear
Yeah,
you.
I mean, that's, you have a small piece of property, you can't have the big, the big house on Dune Road. You don't have the property to support it. And our job as a zoning board, and you've sat through some of the hearings already tonight, is we're trying to reduce this and keep our variances that we give at a minimum, right? The smallest one possible that we can do to make this work.
Right.
So, what do you say to that?
I don't know.
Okay,
Bill, you want?
who is this?
I'm the,
Come over here, let's introduce yourself there, my friend.
I would be the contractor that is gonna be, my name is William Schilling. I've been before this board before on
Yeah.
different projects.
Sure.
And, all the projects I've done, I feel have done real well. We have no issues.
Mhm.
All the gentleman is asking for is what is there, okay? The side yards, everything that's there is what he's asking for. If you go to the house right now, the house is pretty hideous. Okay, it's an ugly looking house. It's all T111. If anything, by tearing this house down and put it back in the same exact spot, it's gonna make the neighborhood better than what it is right now. Anybody that's been to the house, obviously the board goes and looks at these houses and finds out what
We
these houses
certainly
look
have.
like. The house is not a very attractive house. Okay, all we're asking for is to be able to take that house down, because we can't renovate it, because if we could renovate it, we would renovate it.
Mhm.
Okay, we would take the house down, put the house back up. Due to the fact that of FEMA and everything else, we can't renovate the house because it'd be over the percentage of what the village allows us to do as far as the
Understood.
cost, and then we have to come up to the FEMA. Okay, so at this point, like I said, all we're asking for is to have back what he has there now and make it a much nicer looking house. Now, I understand the house next door, there's all kinds of different issues with the house next door as far as the lot lines and everything else. But if you go to the house next door, what was there pre-existing to that house and what he has now is a lot more, okay, than he had originally. Okay, and I understand there's all different things that come into that. And I'm not gonna say, what happened, but the point is, that house is a lot, if you go back to the original plan of that house, what that house was next door, it was a lot larger than smaller than what he has there now, that
So
gentleman does.
are you saying that that house got a variance to increase
I
the
don't know how,
size?
what happened with that house, that's not
Because that
beyond.
could make an
but the
argument
point-
for you
well,
if they
My
did do
point
that.
is, though, obviously he went for variance, obviously he
Did he?
had,
That's my question.
right, he had to go for variance, the house has a permit and
What
everything.
was the
But
name
that
of-
house
what's the
is a
number of
lot
that?
larger, and they're saying it's a lot larger because of the way the dune comes in the back, okay? And that's one of the things we did address, is by pulling the house back in, not going further forward, because the last time when Jeff was here with the board, you guys said the house was too close to the dune, so we did pull the house back. We adhered to what you said on that and pulled the house back,
Mhm.
okay? Like I said, all we're trying to do is get something, it's a little, obviously, it's not a lot smaller, but it is smaller than what's there, okay? And we're trying to get back something on the same footprint that's there right now and make it a much more attractive looking house and make it a lot better for the neighborhood.
William, if it were that simple to just replace what was there and call it a day, we wouldn't need a zoning board.
I understand that, but
Number
somewhere
one.
along the line, the house got put in this position where it is.
No, I'm talking about this application.
I'm talking about this application too. I'm talking about somewhere along the line, that house was built on that piece of property and it conformed to everything it needed to be conformed to, obviously, because it was built.
Oh, you
Okay.
mean
The existing house right
okay,
now.
Okay,
So the house was built to what it is right now, okay, back in what, the 70s, I guess it was built, or?
Right.
So whatever obviously whatever was going on back then, the board or whoever it was, permits, he met the qualifications to put that house in this position it's in now. So all we're asking to be able to do is put it back in the same location and have a newer house.
But
Well, you know, that was 60 years ago.
I
mean,
understand
you're,
that.
you're a contractor, right?
Correct.
What kind of tools were available 60
Oh,
years
yeah, I
ago?
understand. There's no doubt about it.
Right, I mean, you know, it's a,
Right,
it's
but
a
like I
different
said,
day.
once again, all I'm saying is that, you know, the rules, obviously changed over the years, but if we were to renovate that house, it would be right back where it is right now anyway.
Yeah, if you wanted to use that house and renovate, that's correct.
But we can't do that because of the FEMA,
Right. Well,
which
that's-
is another
that's-
rule that
that's-
we
that's-
have to follow.
That's a catch-22.
Right.
Now, you were talking about the house to the east also?
It's the house to the east, correct?
Right, the house to the east. Now, you say that that house was taken down and rebuilt and it's
It
larger
was
now?
I'm not sure if it was I'm pretty sure it was a tear down, they put a new house back up,
Right,
yes.
well, that's what you need to do is, you know, bring us that argument.
Well, the house is on the paper, on this thing right next door.
I understand, but you know, give us some kind of an argument, you know, you
What were
just,
they allowed to do?
yeah, I mean, you're just showing us a picture, it doesn't mean anything. But, you know, give us, you know.
It's a whole new house. He has a new septic system in the front. He has a new driveway in the front. He has a pool in the backyard, which we're not even asking for a pool. He has a pool in the backyard.
We're not disputing any of that, sir. I mean, what Joe is trying to say is that you could provide us with evidence that we've already allowed something like this, is what you're basically
well-
trying to say. And you could bring us that would create a precedent that we really kind of try not to do. But show us how that was allowed to be there.
Okay. Well, like I said, the
That's-
intent was just to go back to the same footprint that was there and build something
we
that was.
definitely understand.
Okay, but one thing you guys have to, maybe your client needs to understand this, is that in the 70s, there were no dune protection laws. There was no coastal erosion hazard area law. There was no dune crest setback. There was no wetlands laws. There was no FEMA. So all these things that have happened since then were done for a reason, not to just keep perpetuating problems that go back 40, 50, 60 years, but to make improvements to them. So the argument can't just be, we just want to redo what was done in the 70s.
Well, we just want to
It's
put,
gotta
we're just
be-
trying to follow the footprint that's there, is all we're saying, is try and put back in the same footprint. Okay, I understand, like I said, some of the rules change and stuff like that, but the variance, it says a lot in this variance, but all we're really asking for in this variance is to be able to go back in the same actual area that we were, that the house is right now.
I understand what you want to do and what your client, really, it's what your client wants to do. It's
Right.
not you. You're
Correct.
not the owner.
Correct.
And you're the architect. But you gotta listen to the fact that there are new regulations that have gone into place since then that need to be taken into account. And that's why you're here, right? It's not, if you could just rebuild what was there, you wouldn't need this board's permission. But it's gotta be more than just, we just wanna do what we did. And that's that. So.
The neighboring parcels at recent variances this board approved. I want to come down to the building department, FOIL those, submit those for the record, and we can compare apples to apples.
Okay, no problem, that's what we'll do then.
Okay.
All right, very good.
Yeah, put a plan together. That's the thing. I mean, you know,
Yeah, no problem.
we're very receptive to, to plans, not shooting from the hip, it's,
That's fine, no problem at all. We, like I said, Jeff was here last month, I wasn't able to make it last month. We'll get some more paperwork together for you gentlemen, and we'll come back with that next month.
perfect.
Jeff, we do appreciate what you've done so far.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah, we do appreciate what you've done so far. We're just trying to keep going a little bit more.
All right.
Okay?
Very good.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
gentlemen. Anybody else on this application? We're gonna hold it over.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we hold this over for all purposes.
Second.
Second by Dan, all in favor?
Aye.
You good with that? Okay, we'll move on into new applications, all right. Number 9, Frank and Margaret Severelli, 2020 Irrevocable Trust, 63 and 65 Beach Road. Applicant seeks variances from 74.5C2 for a proposed non-movable structure dwelling with the CEHA where prohibited, for 197 AD for proposed height of 36 feet above adjacent grade, where the maximum permitted is 32 feet, and for 197-35C for proposed accessory deck and pool with setbacks to the crest of the dune of 56.5 and 54 feet respectively, where the minimum required is 75 feet.
Good evening, Heather Wright for the applicant, 48 Main Street, West Hampton Beach. Yes, so the the owners recently purchased the property at 63 Dune Road and 65 Dune Road. 63 Dune Road is improved with a single-family dwelling, 2-car garage, pool, hot tub and deck, and we have a certificate of occupancy from when they purchased in April of this year. And 65 Dune Road is the adjacent lot that doesn't have a dwelling on it. So I want to turn to, in your papers, the existing conditions survey that you should have. So if we take a look at that, we can see that 63 Dune Road has significant, the structures on this property have significant nonconformities. First, the lot itself is 40,000 square feet with 15,544 north of the crest of the dune, and it's 75.25 feet in width when 100 feet is required. And the lot coverage just on that lot is 38.6%. So you've got 649 square feet of the dwelling and deck that actually encroach onto the adjacent lot. You have dwellings and decks that don't meet the side yards or the total side yard setbacks, and they don't, none of the structures meet the 75-foot crest of the dune setback, and actually the wood deck is 12 feet over the dune here. 65 Dune Road is 35,979 square feet, and it has a lot width of 68.22 feet. So individually, these are challenging lots that are very narrow, which I know is typical on the south side of Dune Road and constrained by both the front yard setback and the crest of the dune setback. But what the applicant is looking to do here is to combine these two tax lots and reconstruct a new dwelling on the combined lots. So I'd like to take each of the variance requests one at a time for the board. So first, the coastal erosion hazard area variance. So, you know, the coastal erosion line presents challenges for many of the lot owners on Dune Road. There's really no location on this property where the entire dwelling can be placed north of the coastal erosion line. So if you look at one of the maps, I call it coastal erosion hazard line map, but it's the one with the purple and the pink, you can see that there's virtually no area where we could position the entire dwelling outside of the coastal erosion hazard area. So what we did was we tried to put together a design and a proposal that pushes it out of that area as much as possible. So we're shifting, what we're proposing to do, as you can see, the existing dwelling runs north-south. We're proposing to shift the new dwelling in an east-west location. So it's like not eliminating the variance because we can't, but minimizing the impact of it by trying to reduce it as much as possible. The next variance that we're looking for is the relief from section 197(8)(e), that no building shall exceed 2 stories. So I know the board's familiar with this type of variance on Dune Road. This property is in a pocket X zone. It's between the AE8 and the VE16 zones. And so what the applicant would like to do is construct the new dwelling in accordance with AE8 building standards. For a lot of reasons, you know, we want to conform to that zone, could be reclassified into that zone in the future. It does prevent against future flooding. You know, obviously the lower level is going to be for storage and parking only. And we were careful in design not to exceed the height requirements. So if this property were actually in this zone, the AE8 zone, we wouldn't need a variance from the board. And I submitted in my papers a number of decisions, prior decisions by this board where you've granted similar variances, recognizing the benefits to building in accordance with the flood standards.
If I could jump in right there, just for the board's edification, starting January of this year, it doesn't now, if you're in a X shaded zone adjacent to a flood zone, you have to construct as if you're in the flood zone. So some of those issues that she highlighted will go away. They would have to construct as if they're in that adjacent zone. I don't remember if this is X unshaded or not, but just what this board has done in the past, which is very wise, is build it as if you're in that adjacent zone. State has now made that law for all intents and purposes for the house.
It's good that the state follows our lead.
Does our code need to catch up to that?
No, because our code just talks about the design flood elevation for, with the freeboard. Bounce back to
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, and then next I want to talk about the crest of the dune variances from section 19735C. I would like to give the board an updated proposed site plan. There was a typo on the site on the plan with the front yard setback. I think I had like 60 something. It actually complies with the 75-foot setback, so that's a correction. And then there have been some modifications since then, engineering modifications with respect to geothermal and the location of the septic system that I thought would be helpful to the board to see. So it's just that's the only changes from what you have in your package of materials.
Yes. I remember.
So, like I said, we're proposing to combine the two tax lots into one 76,732 square foot parcel. And this will allow us to rotate and construct a home that runs east-west, right? So this will help us get rid of many of the nonconformities that exist on the current dwelling right now. So we are going to have conforming side yard and total side yard setbacks, conforming front yard setback, and we will comply with the 20% lot coverage requirement. And as I said earlier, we're trying to get as much out of the coastal erosion hazard area as possible. And it's worth noting that if we were to utilize the existing dwelling and renovate the existing dwelling, even on a combined lot, the lot coverage would be 22.9%. So what we tried to do was sort of replicate the size of the structure that we have, but we did reduce it so that we could meet that 20% lot coverage that's required. And so we're asking for variances for the proposed deck and the pool, 56.5 feet from the crest of the dune and 54 feet from the crest of the dune. And you know, I acknowledged in my papers that we recognize that sometimes the board is, you know, wants to retreat from the dune as much as possible, which I think we're doing here substantially from what exists. But we did look at alternatives to pushing it even further towards Dune Road and asking for a front yard variance instead of a crest of the dune variance. But we ran into some challenges in doing so, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to give you the updated plan. And Craig is here, our architect, who can speak to it in more detail. But with the location of the septic system, the grading, and then we've now added the geothermal, it becomes really tight in the front yard because we can't put any of these things behind the house, right? So now it's really tight, and that's why we're maintaining the 75-foot setback. We were cognizant of the fact that the board really wants the dwelling out to meet that 75-foot setback, but so that's why we're only asking for accessory structures from the setback from the crest of the dune for the accessory structures. So, Craig, do you want to come up and add anything or with respect to the challenges in the front yard?
Sure.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Craig Arm, here for the applicant, 132-4 Main Street, West Hampton Beach. So when we were trying to go through a few different variations and design of the sanitary system and starting to get into more of the house engineering and just the way the systems would work, with some of the new energy codes that are required, we have to meet certain percentages and you get credits for different things. And one of them is solar, another is if you go to geothermal, just all part of the energy requirements. So with the geothermal heat, which seems to be the way we've been trying to go with a lot of projects, we not only have to have setbacks from the road, we have setbacks from water lines, and we also have setbacks from our own sanitary system. which is pretty substantial. So when you take where the water main is, we take our setback to our wells for that. We take our geothermal wells with our setback to our sanitary system then setback to the house. We're really pretty much right there with where we are for our structures. The lot it's back at some point, I guess when the original construction was done, there must have been fill that was brought in. So we're going to be able to just sort of redistribute that fill. We're not looking for retaining walls. We're not looking for, additional setbacks from health department or anything, but it's, I think so we're gonna try and use the grading that we do have and not need the additional walls, but in doing so, it does push the house, kind of to the location, that we're proposing.
Yeah, no, I think that's
think that's-
helpful. So we, like I said, we were really careful in the design of the house to minimize the requested variances, and obviously by not renovating the existing house, but which could be renovated in this case, removing it and redesigning it, we've eliminated substantial variances that currently exist on the property. In particular, the lot coverage and the encroachments in over the crest of the dune.
For the house. You're gonna be far away from the crest of the dune with the home.
Well,
itself.
the home is going to meet exceed the
Mhm.
setback
I'm
from the
reading
crest of
the
the dune.
charge,
We're
it says
only
81
asking
feet.
for the deck and the pool, which this board has granted in the past under certain circumstances when the applicant's been able to show why that is really the only alternative to the development. But the existing home right now is into the dune. In fact, the existing deck is over 12 feet over the dune.
Yeah.
So this is a vast improvement, which will clearly a benefit to the environment. And by combining the tax lots, we really are we're taking away a development, the possibility of development on a tax lot, and we're redistributing the square footage so that we comply with the setbacks.
So let me ask you, how's the pool designed? It looks like it's on the deck, but it's not on the deck. It's coming off the deck. The pool is 2 feet closer to the crest of the dune than the deck is. Do you want to take that, Craig?
Sure. So originally this was designed, so the pool is down on the lower level. It's not elevated up at the higher level. And that was an infinity pool edge, which we're actually going to be changing some of that a little bit.
Mhm.
Same setbacks, but just a few modifications. But that's down on, it's above grade, but it's not on the higher level.
Okay.
So that's a negative edge, pool, and does the entire structure show up on this plan, as far as the catch basin and everything?
It does, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the setback that's given.
Okay.
What are the pool dimensions? I can't
Um,
really tell from the plan.
It's on somewhere.
Doesn't say.
I mean, square footage wise, or you mean, because it's
Well, is it like 16 by
dimensions.
32 or is it 20 by 40
783
or?
square feet for pool and spa, right?
Yeah, I believe it was roughly an 18 by 40. I don't have the exact dimensions in front of me,
Mhm.
which included a hot tub as well inside that pool.
Inside the swimming pool area is the hot tub also?
Correct. So that's all part of that square footage.
Uh-huh. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Craig, where's the pool equipment going to be located?
The pool equipment, we're
20
with
by
part of the
40
geothermal heat. We're still going to design it, but between heat exchangers, we're going to be able to do everything within the structure and below the structure. So
Okay.
everything will be within that envelope that we're proposing.
Okay.
Nothing beyond.
Okay.
So the crest of the dune argument, is really based on the accessory, it's
Any
only the
questions,
accessory
Leslie?
part, of this project. It's encroaching.
That's correct, yes. And we did that, we were careful to make sure that was the only part that was encroaching.
Right, okay.
I don't think I have any other questions for you. Gentlemen? Brad?
It's not your purview, but it will be mine. I don't like that walkway the way it's designed. We like to make the walkways as short as possible to the easements when we can. And
Uh-huh.
yes, right now, the existing deck is right up to the crest of the dune, but when we rebuild this house, we like the dune to naturally reform itself. And so you don't have to weigh in on it, we should just, I would like that not to be held, I would not like to not be held to that design that's on your plan list.
Of the proposed walkway, the way it goes and meets the other one?
We'd be happy to work with Brad and come up with a solution that, you know, that he's comfortable with, without it. No problem.
Anybody?
Wouldn't you have to approve that anyway as part of the, like a
would.
coastal erosion permit?
I would, but
You don't want it to be,
if the board were to approve something with the plan,
Do we need an updated plan for that proposed walkway?
I don't think so. I think, if the applicant's willing to say like this, they're not beholden to this as being part of the approval, they're
Right.
expressly written or.
Tony, if
Yeah,
we were
we
to
understand,
approve
that's
this,
fine. You
could
don't want
for
us to come
something
back
like
and
the
say
proposed
it's on
walkway,
this
it'd have to be
survey, and
approved
so
by the
therefore,
building
yeah,
inspector?
That's why I'm bringing it up.
I understand.
You see what he's talking
yeah, I do, no, I do, I'm trying to figure out, I suppose it could be built into the resolution, but,
I don't,
I'm also happy just even submit something that says, final location to be determined, if that helps.
it probably
whatever
would
you're
help.
comfortable with
Yeah, that
is
would
fine,
help.
we're not.
Right?
Maybe you could put the pool dimensions on too.
Be happy to. I have the square footage of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I see the square footage,
do.
so. That makes it less than 20 by 40, which is a pretty big pool. Right? But. Anybody else want to chime in on this application? So I think we're good to go. Then I think if you guys are all okay, I'd like to make a motion to close this decision, hearing for decision.
Second.
Second by Joe. John, you good?
Subject to Craig submitting
Right.
plans to reflect the two things that he just offered to provide.
Okay, the pool and the walkway. Okay?
Thank you, everyone.
Alrighty. Number 10, 256 East Main Street. Back again, huh? Applicant seeks 197D to construct a dwelling with proposed side yards of 17.6 and 23.5 feet, where the minimum required is 30 feet, with a combined side yard of 41.1 feet, where the minimum required is 70 feet. And from 197-35A for proposed patio at grade located in the side yard where prohibited. And from 197-35E1 for proposed patio at grade setback of 4 feet, where the minimum required is 10 feet.
Good evening, Heather Wright for the applicant, 48H Main Street, West Hampton Beach. The property is owned by 256 Main Street LLC. It's located on the north side of Main Street. The property, if you probably recall from driving by, was improved with a small single-family cottage and a garage. The dwelling was recently demolished. The property is in the R1 zoning district, which requires a lot area of 40,000 square feet and a lot width of 150 feet. So this lot is very non-conforming. It only has a lot area of 22,719 square feet and a lot width of 88 feet. So the applicant is proposing to construct a new single-family dwelling, pool and garage, and in accordance with the survey that we submitted with the application. So what we did when we took a look at this is, we understand that we have, some nonconformities here that, impact what we can build. So we were very careful in our design to propose, well, what we're seeking here is side and total side yard setbacks. We were really careful in designing a home that was proportionate to the size of the lot. So we're proposing side yard setbacks on the west of 23.5 feet and 17.8 feet on the east for the dwelling. And those proposed setbacks are proportioned to the width of the lot. So the 88 feet is 59%. So we're proposing setbacks that are 59 and 61% of the required 30 feet and total side yard of 70
You heard
feet.
that somewhere tonight? Good job.
So, you know, that way and of importance, I think, is that we're complying, even though we're 22,000 square feet, we're complying with the 20% lot coverage here. So, you know, I think that as a result, what we're proposing is certainly in keeping with the character of the neighborhood and won't have any negative impact on the neighborhood because we're not building this, you know, oversized house on a small lot. And, you know, again, we were cognizant of the lot coverage. Now, we're also asking for a variance for a small patio to the east of the property at, you know, an at-grade patio that requires a variance from this board. But the reason we position the patio where it is one for functionality, it's off the kitchen, but two, there's a flag between our lot and the adjacent lot, so it's creating a larger setback than what would normally be there. So it won't have a negative impact on the neighbor, but all of the other development on the lot complies with the required zoning setbacks, front, side, you know, front and rear yard setbacks for both the principal and accessory structure comply. So certainly, you know, the development here is going to be better for the environment. It's going to be a new house built to today's building codes. It'll have a new septic system. And I think it's worth noting that what was on this property, the existing dwelling, although demolished, didn't comply to the setbacks. You know, it's pre-existing, but it didn't meet the 30-foot side yard setbacks and the total side yard setback. And the existing garage was I think it was 2.6 feet from the westerly property line. So we're kind of cleaning up all those issues with the construction of the new dwelling. And obviously, there's really no feasible alternative here. The only way to build a house that would comply to the setbacks would be to build a 17-foot wide house. I mean, we have virtually no building envelope on this property without relief from this board. So that is why we are here today.
Covered things pretty good. Questions? Joe, you have any questions on this one?
The only question I have is, you know, the patio
about
at
the patio.
the east side. I can see the functionality of it.
Of what, Joe?
The patio on the east side.
Yeah. I had a question about that too, but that's right on the flag
Yeah,
is there.
yeah.
It's not in front of that.
Yeah, and I mean, and we're proposing, we've got, you know, vegetation, we're gonna screen, you know, the entire property with vegetation. So I don't think it'll have any impact on the neighboring property. And, you know, I have an aerial photograph so you can get a sense of what the setback, I mean, what the flag looks like between where the proposed patio is going, the location of the patio vis-a-vis the flag.
Where's our flag on this one?
It's right here. This is the flag.
There's the flag.
And then it goes.
And it's
right
at
back.
grade too.
So the property ends there, and then this is a whole piece right there.
Yeah.
So the little patio was.
Now, what's the vegetation there, Heather?
I mean, we haven't decided on it, but it's just proposed, you know, probably some sort of privet or green giants.
Yeah, green giants, large green giants, blackout.
I know some of the neighbors that, noticed that, and so if there's some substantial screening, in that area.
We wouldn't be opposed to that, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it benefits both parties.
Yeah.
I think I had letters on this one, right?
Yes, we did.
There were email letters, though I don't have it. You have it printed out?
Oh, I saw that letter. I think from that letter, I just want to clarify that none of the other structures, the garage, the proposed garage, the proposed pool, they all meet the required accessory structure setbacks. So maybe there was some confusion among, about what we were asking for, but just to be clear, it's really just for the proportionate setbacks for the construction of the dwelling.
No, it's a difficult lot to develop, there's no question about it.
Right, and the flag lot behind us, although pre-existing, certainly if and when they decide to
What about the other
redevelop their lot, are going to be faced with the same issues because they are equally, their lot width is
Right.
equally small.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He wasn't noticed. He wasn't noticed. But,
No, I have proof of all the notices.
yeah, I think, we've had that happen in the past. I think that people have multiple addresses, so the notice, I guess, would go to the.
It goes where the
address that
village tells me it goes
the
to.
village goes, yeah.
Yeah.
Had to just refresh my memory, what is the time frame that you have to notice people?
You have to notice them 10 days prior to the
10
public
days
hearing.
prior to, okay. I thought it was 10 days, okay. We just had somebody wasn't noticed, you said, so I just wondered.
I have the proof of the notices here if you need to see them.
Uh,
I mean, I handed them in to the village, obviously.
No, I
but-
don't need to see them right now.
Yeah.
We have them, that's all it counts. You good? All right. Comments, questions? Yes, come on. Come on down.
I'm
Hi
the
there.
neighbor,
You're a neighbor?
next door and
Uh-huh.
behind.
How about if you pull that microphone down a little bit, so that'll help us a lot, thank you.
Okay,
And when you say next door and behind, that is on the east side,
the east and the north side,
for two homes?
yes.
Okay.
Because it used to be a stagecoach stop
Okay,
and very historic, which
Oh,
I
this
love.
is, this is the other letter.
That's my
You're the wife.
husband. I'm the wife.
Okay.
And we didn't get the letter. It was sent to New York City, but we live out here. My husband works in the city, but
So
he's been
it's
staying
gonna
with it.
go wherever you have the mailing address with the village. So
See,
you mi-
I had
You
no.
might wanna look into that,
Yeah,
cause that's, if you are noticed, that's where the notice goes to,
when
yeah,
you get your
We
tax bill, that's where it goes.
so.
yeah.
Well, that's okay, you
Well,
aren't,
yeah.
the notice was sent out, but you didn't receive it
Yeah.
because it went to an alternate address that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I learned about it 2 days ago when
Uh-huh.
my neighbor on the other side rode his bicycle over and said,
Mhm.
"Did you see this?" No, we did not. And we have no, the barn, the house in the back is the barn where the horses stayed for the stagecoach stop. And we have no intentions of ever changing that into a house. So that's not really a valid argument. As
Okay.
far as that, we would have the same problem because we've been there for 10 years. Don't, we love the barn.
Sure.
And,
But the barn's on your property,
yeah.
okay.
See, we own
so-
the two properties.
Okay,
They originally were one property, but they were sold for us. The owners before us split it up and sold the barn to one person and the big house to us. We call it the barn and the big house.
so I'm a little confused, do you have any objection to this?
Yes.
or- So what is your objection?
It's like it's an historic house.
Which house is, this house has been gone? Your house is a historic house?
Yes. And the
Okay,
barn is
so
historic.
Let me
and-
just
I'm
take,
sorry.
let me just take one thing back.
Yeah.
If you're talking to our zoning board
Mhm.
about the type of house that's gonna go up, we're dealing with dimensional relief here,
Okay,
okay? I think your concern,
I'll get to that though.
you,
So-
okay, good, but you're
sorry.
concerned about the type of home, what it's going to look like. That's for the architectural review board, okay? So that's not the zoning board,
Okay.
okay? So
But all
now
the
what's your other
houses,
thing?
all the houses sort of in that whole are all historic.
Well, we all live in the village, so we do
Yeah,
know what that
you know,
is,
yeah.
yeah. So But that's
But-
gonna be with the ARB, that's not gonna be with us.
Okay.
We're dealing with the dimensional relief that's necessary for the applicant to build the home they want. So with that in mind, what's your next point?
Well, the neighbor on the other side of us, on the east,
Okay?
has a nice historic house as well. But they also have a patio, eating patio, etc., and a pool on the side next to us. And it is horrendously noisy. Even though we're like surrounded by trees. We've like
Okay.
really, we've got a lot of trees around everything. But you can't, the trees don't stop the noise.
Okay, but we can't do anything
And-
about that neighbor.
Okay. So we object to the noise coming from the side patio. And the garage that they're putting in is gonna be right in front of the front door for the barn, which isn't a
that
very attractive.
That garage is in a conforming location on their property. I don't think they need
Oh,
any
okay.
relief for that,
Okay,
for that accessory structure. So
yeah.
the only, you would have to talk to the property owner about that if you had a problem with it, because that's not something that's before us, I don't think, right? No, that's not it.
I
As
feel that-
far as, how far away is your house from where that side patio would be?
It's right there.
No, I see where it is, but where is your house on? How
Um,
far off the property line is your home that would be affected by that?
I'd have to, get back to you on that one. I don't know. I don't know. I just know these things are
This is
usually
a,
pretty.
I mean, it's a
pretty
relatively
noisy.
small patio. I don't think you'd be having any disco
Well-
parties on it or anything.
Well, the people on the other side have turned it into, and I know it's their right, but an Airbnb, and I'm suspecting
Okay.
that might be the case here as well. And it's loud.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's loud, my husband and I go to the barn, and so we're going back and forth, and we've been here in West Hampton Beach for 30 years. We've owned that house for 30 years, and we lived in West Hampton Beach somewhere else, and my in-laws, for a long time, and we love it, and it's beautiful, and we've got kids that hope stay
No,
there, and
I understand. So your biggest concern is that side patio then?
yes, and the garage right in front.
Well, the garage, I'm afraid that's as of right that they can build the garage there.
Okay.
Okay? So,
So I guess it's, let me just look at my
and that
notes.
garage, the back of that garage is gonna be 20 feet from their property line.
Okay,
So it's not gonna be right on the property line or right next to your barn.
okay.
And
I
it
d-
is proposed as a one-car garage with no, there's no living space.
There's no living space above the garage or anything. It's gonna be one-car garage.
One car garage?
Okay?
So
Well, the garage, it looks like 16 or 18 by 23, so that's definitely a one-car garage.
okay. I don't understand what she was talking about, the flag. We have
That's
a
the flag's the driveway that goes from Main Street back to your barn.
Oh, the flag driveway.
Yeah, that's the flag.
Oh, I
Okay.
thought, we actually have an American flag.
Good
So, and I was,
for
so I
you.
thought she was talking about.
Okay, I can
About
understand the
that.
confusion on that. Okay,
Okay.
good. All right?
I also feel, it's not consistent with the neighborhood, particularly that area, being sort of a historic area.
Well, again, that's gonna be for the Architectural Review Board.
Okay.
So in that, assuming this gets approved, which is an assumption right now, we're not done with this. So if this were to be approved, there's other boards that have to look at it to approve everything that has to get done. And one of those boards that would look at this would be the Architectural Review Board.
Okay,
And that would be the board that you would express your concerns with,
okay,
or with this issue. Okay, that's not something we can rule on, just so
Okay.
you know.
I'm just, my 2 cents. um, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I feel like maybe they're trying to, put too big of a, they're being, do they really need a big house and a pool and a garage? And why not put it on another plot that would maybe fit it better? We never did anything that required variances. We, and I don't understand why they didn't buy like maybe a larger, well, they have their rights, but I
But, you
think
know,
it's maybe overambitious to put all those things on that tiny
this
piece
is
of
a
property.
very narrow lot. And what they're looking for is relief from, so that they don't have to build a railroad car.
Then they should have bought a different piece of property.
Well, yeah, but there was a house there, and that's why,
They tore down.
that's why they're before this board, and that's our job.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think they should have toured. I think it was a crime to tear down an old house, but that's me.
Right.
Um,
And your opinion is,
For
your
what it's
opinion
worth.
valuable, absolutely. So, do you have anything else?
They have a patio, it looks like, in the back. So I'm wondering, why do they need, but in the back of the house, why do they need a patio in the back and one on the side?
Uh-huh.
Considering they're asking for a variance for that. I mean, is that really?
That's a valid point, absolutely, and that's one of the things we're considering right now,
Okay,
okay?
okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for
Do you all
taking,
have questions for me, or?
I think we're pretty good.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
very
you for
much.
taking the
Thank you.
time to sit through our meeting here, and
you're welcome. Thank you for listening to me.
have a great night.
You too.
Heather, do you have anything that you want to add based on what you just heard?
The only thing I would add is you asked the question, how far is the neighbor's dwelling from the property line?
Yes.
I checked, they did not get a variance for their setbacks, so they're a minimum 30 feet from the property line plus the flag, plus the 4 feet that we are asking from this board.
Okay. Sure. Sure.
The flag, now that I know what you mean by the flag. My husband and I were thinking about, we don't, it's kind of.
I think you should come on back up here because we'll get all your steps in tonight. Your husband and yourself are thinking about with the flag. So
Getting
what-
rid of
what-
that
what-
flag driveway.
What Ms. Wright just said is that your house is gonna be at least 30 feet off the side yard line. Off your side yard's gonna be at least 30 feet, because you didn't have any variance to put that there. Plus the flag is gonna be what, 10 feet wide? At least
I
10 feet,
don't
that's
really know.
40 feet plus, so that's 44 feet away from your house. If this side patio were to be approved, it's a significant distance
Yeah,
away,
yeah,
okay?
thank you. But yeah, we were talking about getting rid of the flag driveway and just walk, because what we do now, we just walk through our backyard to go to the barn. And so we don't really,
So what would you do with that property? Just leave it.
Use
would
it
still
for-
be there. That property would still be there, whether you use it to drive on or not.
we would,
That distance would still be there. It's not like your neighbor could now say, oh, let's build an extension into the flag, because those people don't use it anymore.
but that's
So-
in essence,
In essence,
it's
what?
4 feet, I guess, from the flag. And if we want to turn the flag into, more grass and, what-
What's in the barn?
what's in the barn?
Is there water in the barn? Is there any?
It's a whole, it's a house,
Okay,
a livable house.
So that flagpole, that stretch of property we're talking about, has to remain. Your main house and that barn house, they have to remain separate. You couldn't
Why?
combine those, because then you would put two houses on one piece of property that doesn't conform to zoning. So, when we're talking,
Up until a few years ago, like 8 years ago, they were on one piece of property.
so I I guarantee that that piece of property got a variance from this board to subdivide if that was, if that was the case.
I bet not.
Okay?
But we don't need that big, long driveway.
Practically speaking, you could get rid of the driveway tomorrow, but that piece of property that connects to that, that we're referring to, that pole, that flagpole, is
Wait,
an
what's the
undevelopable.
flagpole again?
It's a 10-foot wide stretch of land that they use to access the barn property. That
Okay,
has
so that's
to-
a driveway,
It's a driveway.
not a flagpole.
Sure,
Okay, I
it's a
keep
driveway.
getting confused, I'm sorry.
If you ripped it out tomorrow and put all grass down there.
Yeah,
Essentially, it still exists as a 10-foot wide undevelopable piece of property unto itself.
Not if-
Your setbacks from your main house would still need to abide by where that property ends. So it doesn't matter what you plan to do with the driveway or not. It doesn't change what this board has to think about.
I don't understand that, because it's our property.
Yep.
It came with that driveway.
Yeah, I would love
Which-
to meet with you sometime next week. You wanna come down and visit me at the building department or whenever you have time and.
Why couldn't this just be right here? Yeah. And conform.
But I don't understand how that changes
I agree.
that it's still 4 feet away. And we can enlarge our lawn and trees, etc. And walk through the back as we've been doing. So. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Well, the best is you have an appointment with the building inspector at your convenience. This way he can explain it to you.
So even if it's part of my backyard or side yard, it's still considered a driveway?
It belongs to the property.
But
All right,
I bel-
we're really getting sidetracked.
But I
But
own
the,
that
the one
property.
thing, the
I
one
own
thing
the
you
property
raised,
that he's talking about.
we're getting
I own
sidetracked
both
on your
properties.
property. Your property's not in front of the board, but the question you asked about why does the outdoor dining need to be there? That's a legitimate question to ask, and maybe the applicants can explain why it needs to be there as opposed to just moving into the backyard, because there is
They
room in the
already-
backyard.
They have one in the backyard.
They have a
proposed.
covered patio in the backyard, right? That's what it's labeled, is a proposed covered patio. And this one's al fresco, I assume uncovered, Heather, right? Why, the question that's being asked, which is a legitimate question, why can't the uncovered eating area just be put in the corner of the house in the rear yard with an extra 6-foot setback?
Yeah.
Which, then it wouldn't need any variances.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate question.
And I don't understand the difference between, since I own the barn, I own both properties.
But let's not worry about your barn. Your barn is not in front of the board, and we keep talking about the barn and the driveway.
So the barn
it's
is
not-
not affected with,
No, your
it's
barn,
just the side.
your barn has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. What I asked you is how far your house is off the property line. And Heather said, looked it up, and it's at least 30 feet off, plus the 10 feet of the flag lot, plus another 4 feet that they're asking for. So we're looking at 44 feet away from your house, this little patio would be if it were to be allowed. And that's what we want to establish. Okay, it's
Oh,
not gonna
okay.
be right next to your bedroom, say.
Okay, there is
Okay.
bedrooms there.
Okay.
But you,
Um,
you
so-
asked a legitimate question, and
It
so
was
I
a
think that's a
okay.
good,
Thank you.
we'd
I-
like, I
think
think
we got
we'd like to ask
confused.
Yeah,
the
I'm sorry.
applicant to
Yeah.
answer the question that you asked, which is why does it need to be there?
Mm-hmm.
Because it
Okay, thank
does
you.
appear like it could be moved to the backyard and still accomplish what they want to accomplish, but that's up to them to explain.
Okay,
Okay?
thank
But,
you.
no, just
Thank you.
in
Sure.
closing, it's a small patio, number one. Number two, it's seasonal. No one's gonna be sitting out there in October, November, December.
Yeah.
On that little space right there,
Yeah. No-
just for
yeah.
reference.
Noise really carries even,
Sure.
just, okay.
Okay?
So,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much for
Thank you.
hearing.
You wanna get noise.
Sure.
All right.
So part of it is, like I said, functionality. I think we're getting a little bit, we're looking for some pavers to put there's a sliding door in where the kitchen is, where the dining room is, I guess, and then there's a slider, and then the idea was to put, like, have a table on some pavers outside at grade. This is not we're not talking an elaborate raised patio. And with the design of the house, the patio that's to the back is against the living room area. So from how you use the house and the location of the dining area, it just didn't make sense to have like a table outside in that area. So that's why we were proposing it there. And because the code requires a variance for the at-grade type patio, that's why we're here. But this is not a large structure with walls and a covering or anything like that. It's just a way to open up the sliding glass doors and maybe have a table outside.
Thank you.
But how big is the patio? 'Cause it's close to being conforming, and it's the, good question as to why it can't be.
No, it's in a side yard.
Yeah, but there's two variances. There's a setback and a side yard variance, so it's at least close to meeting.
I think it has to be 10 feet.
Okay, and you're at 4, 6?
4.
So the question is, how big is the patio? Like, is it the minimum variance
Do you know?
necessary? All those questions they're legitimate questions for.
I agree.
It's hard to see from this, but it looks like 12 or 13 feet.
But the whole side yard's 20 feet.
Right.
And at 10 feet, you'd be conforming. So how big is that patio where all you want to do is put a table on it? Does it need to be 16 feet wide to put a table on it?
No, it does not. So it can only be like 12 feet.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Wes Sokol. I'm the owner of the property. So basically the patio is 12 feet wide. It doesn't really need to be that, but essentially it was kind of more of like a garden that we put a table at, just drawn into plan, but we could just remove it. It's not a big deal and just make it a garden. It's not that boring. So we
So
can
you
remove
say
that.
you would remove
I don't
remove
even
the
care.
patio?
Yeah, it's like essentially if we had a garden outside where it was trees with flowers and whatever, and somebody puts a chair out there, that's not really.
That wouldn't
Doesn't-
require a variance.
Yeah, that doesn't.
You could do that
yeah,
as
it's
of
just,
right.
we put a table because we thought it would be cute and whatever, but it's not really
So,
that hyper important, and it wasn't meant to be a consistent patio anyway. It was more of like a garden with a table.
okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's it. All right.
So you're going to remove that
Yeah,
request
we-
for variance completely?
We'll remove it.
Okay. Very good.
That was easy.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Could have done that a half hour ago.
All right,
Yeah.
sorry.
30 minutes.
Sorry.
Oh, God. Respond. What?
We have written submission from the neighbor.
Oh, we do. That's where the neighbors have written submissions from. So their written submissions are part of the record, because we do have that from them.
Yeah.
Yes.
He told me he wasn't able to come, but we very much against it.
We have
We
that
have
from
his
him.
written submission. Yes, we do.
He submitted something saying exactly that, so.
Okay. All right, so if there's nothing else on this, I'd like to make a motion. We close this hearing. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Second by Jim, right?
Still there.
Do we need to wait for John? What's that?
No, I think we don't need it updated. I think because it's very discreet, and so if they're saying they're removing that from the request, it just won't be,
They're removing
it's
it from
okay.
the request. So
right, it's been withdrawn.
it's
and
been with, part's been withdrawn.
it won't affect any other
variance
plans, I
thing.
think. So.
All righty. So, number 11. Paul Avasano, 191 Dune Road, applicant seeks variances for 197.6C for a proposed building area lot coverage of 23.1, where the maximum is 20%, from 197.35C for proposed deck extensions with setbacks of 12.7 from the side property line and 19.9 feet from the crest of the dune, where the minimum required is 20 feet and 75 feet respectively.
For the applicant,
You
James
finally
Amian.
get to talk tonight,
Yes.
huh?
An interesting evening. So we're looking for a 78 square foot addition to an existing deck at 191 Dune Road, which,
Oh
as you
my gosh,
indicated,
here we have this one back before us again, huh?
yes, yes, but much simpler, and I think a much simpler request. So this impacts three different sections of the code. First, as you indicated, the lot coverage. We're looking for 23.1% lot coverage. The current property is already at 22.6%, so it's already a fair bit above the 20%. And I thought for a few minutes about how that happened, and I think it's kind of the dune is moving. If you look back to when this house was originally built, the dune was in such a location that the coverage at that point was about 20%. And I think there was a house there before, and probably the lot coverage was even less because the dune was further away. I understand, your concern over the dune and the preservation of the dune, but this happens to be in a part of the village that's actually kind of a double dune. In addition, I believe one of the jetties is out in front of this property because there's some county property directly south of this property, so it's well protected. The change in coverage would have a minimal impact on anything at all. The second variance is the side yard setback of 12.7 feet instead of the required 20. That 12.7 feet matches the setback of the house itself, and this deck extension is kind of a triangular piece that just kind of gets the deck to that side of the house, as you can see on the survey. And the third setback is the 19.9 for the rear yard setback when it's supposed to be 75. But if you look at the survey that we submitted reflecting what we're doing there, the survey is angled so that we have that on your drawing? No, it's angled so that it gets no closer than the closest point. Right now, the deck itself is 19.9 feet away from
The existing deck.
the existing deck is 19.9 feet. And so we have angled this from that corner of the deck back to the edge of the house so that it actually runs parallel to the existing dune. And so it actually, by the time it gets to the house, it's almost 20 feet setback as opposed to the 19 feet. So, and again, that's affected by the fact that the dune is mobile. It's been moving. This is a small little addition. It's going to be cantilevered, so we don't even need to drive any pilings to install this. And so there won't be any kind of interference in that regard. And also the lot coverage, if
You don't have to go to my car one.
is it raining?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. If the lot coverage were based on the actual total lot, which is 34,000 square feet, the lot coverage, even with this addition, would be 10%. So
Right.
it's really a small portion.
What happens on Dune
But
Road.
to the extent that you believe that there's any impact on the world at large by the 78 square foot deck, we submitted, and we have our landscape architect here if he'd like to walk through it, a revegetation plan for the dune and that area. So which we believe very substantially offsets any impact that this small little deck addition may have.
This little deck addition this is where they have the sliding glass
Yes.
doors to nowhere?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just trying to get somewhere. And
Trying to get
we
somewhere.
acknowledge that maybe we did this in a reverse order,
Yeah, maybe.
and which is why I haven't argued that the presence of that door should be a reason that you grant this variance. But that is in fact what we're hoping to accomplish. So,
Gotcha.
and as I indicated, we have a fairly substantial landscape plan that we're offering up as mitigation for whatever impact you might see this addition having.
Gotcha.
So you say this is cantilevered?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a big undertaking.
So I don't know if you have any questions he came all this way
All
and
this
stayed all
way.
this time, so.
I've seen all this action here tonight.
Well, why don't you tell us, Scott?
Why
Come
not?
come on in there. Yeah.
I'll keep this short and sweet. I hope my windows are closed out there too. John Hamilton with LaGuardia Design Group. I'm a principal there. We're the landscape architects on the project. We're based in Watermill, New York. There were some photos submitted with this revised application. As Jim said, this is in the Double Dune area, so there's quite a bit of distance from the structures to the actual primary dune. The primary dune is in excellent shape here. I mean, it's densely vegetated with beach grass, bayberry, other native vegetation. But as you get closer to the houses, kind of all along this stretch, there's severe wind-driven erosion of sand that's just kind of beating up the area over the course of many years. So probably about 150 feet off the house is bare sand. There's some patches of beach heather, some patches of black pines and beach grass, which we're going to leave. But this plan here implements a dramatic restoration of that entire bare sand area. It's not required, but our clients, moved to this area recently. They really want to be good stewards of the dune, the community, the broader village here. So this plan has about 2,000 plugs of beach grass, 100 pieces of bayberry shrubs, to really fill in all of these bare sand areas and cultivate a really successful long-term restoration project. So that's our main form of mitigation. Just so you know, the rest of the property, the upland portion of it, it's not under review tonight, but we've already planted hundreds of native grasses, shrubs, trees. I mean, it's really a kind of a native dunescape throughout this entire site.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
So, Jim, assuming this is mitigation, if a variance were granted, you would expect it to be conditioned upon implementation of
yes.
the mitigation, plan,
That's
right?
exactly it, yes.
You understand that, right?
Yeah, thank you. All right, Jim, I don't have anything else. for
Okay.
you. These folks here they're waiting for their shot, huh? All right, thank you very much. I think if we're all set, I think,
That's not something the board likes to do, so as long as everyone's understanding of that, and when we go to draft this determination, I'm probably gonna reference these other two hearings that didn't grant this deck area, so I just wanna make sure the board is all on board.
yeah, I
Well,
think the
it's-
uniqueness of this application.
It's less area this
Didn't-
time.
Right, it didn't grant a slightly different
Yes,
version.
it's
Right.
cantilevered as opposed to pile supported.
I'm not trying to say,
Yeah.
just,
I
I
understand.
don't want you to leave going, seems good, and then we draft it, and then it's been a long night, it's been a lot of,
Understood.
and then we go, oh, wait, we did talk about this 2 years ago, and then
Yes.
last year, and now it's here again, so.
Yeah,
good.
Not trying to sink anything last second, I just wanna make sure that. the board remembers.
Yeah,
thanks, Brad.
thank you, thank you.
And, okay, so I make a motion to close this, hearing for a decision.
Second.
Second by Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
Good,
Thanks for your time tonight.
thank you. Go ahead, Snow, you can, Luke.
I'll be right back.
All right.
Craig, are you here just for renewal? Just for 85? We have a renewal request for 85 Dune Roads, Tranquillo Estates. Board may remember that we had a substantially conforming building, but there was a portion of deck that they wanted to keep that this board did not approve. The property has since changed hands, and I have an application for a fully conforming building. The only variance needed to survive was the coastal erosion variance, so it's slightly different from what the board saw, but the only relief they would need was coastal erosion. So I don't see the reason why we couldn't just keep the same resolution going, but this just did expire recently. I don't remember, 85 was the tiny little beach hut in between the bridges, and Craig had a big house, but they wanted to keep this deck portion. Board granted the variance with the coastal erosion hazard, he didn't need the other variances other than this deck thing that the board did not grant. So on this new application, that deck is gone.
Right.
Have a conforming dwelling, the only exception being it still has the coastal erosion hazard on it.
Okay, but we don't have that on our agenda or
Yeah,
anything.
it's on your agenda's 6 pages long, I think, but it's on the last.
Oh.
Which number is it?
I don't see it, not 85.
85, you said?
Yeah,
It's number 16.
Oh, I have an older one, I guess.
I guess I do too.
I think some of us have an older version of the agenda, that's why. Mine ends at 15.
The extension requests are after the.
I have 2 extension requests.
We don't have 16.
Yeah, there's a newer version of the
Sorry, Megan
agenda.
went away. I was probably supposed to update you all.
So there's 3 extension requests, but we still have another hearing. Right, Brad, we still have one more hearing.
Hey, he's just trying to get,
We have 2
put
more.
Craig,
We
so
have
Craig
2
can
more
get out of
extension
here, that's all.
requests.
Okay.
Sorry.
Brad, I'd like to get out of here.
I know. I'm happy to stay.
Well, you get paid by the hour, that's.
All right. So, Tranquillo Associates, based on what Brad just said, make a motion that we grant this extension. Retroactive extension up to including August 15th, 2027.
I'll second it.
Second by Joe. Good?
Yeah.
Yep.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Craig, you got a friend in the tower there, buddy, I'll tell you, huh?
I appreciate it.
All right, now. What are we up to? 40, Derek Henrik. 401 Dune Road, applicant seeks variances from 7452 C2 for proposed non-movable structure when the CEHA were prohibited, and for 19710C for proposed building area lot coverage of
Yeah.
21.4,
No, thanks.
where the maximum permitted is 20% from 19734A 5 for proposed habitable floor area of 3,165 square feet, where the maximum is 2,500 square feet for 19735A, for proposed front deck located in the front yard where prohibited for 19735C, for proposed front deck setback to the side yard of 13.9, where the minimum required is 20 feet, and also from 19735C, for proposed rear deck setback of 2.7 and 5.5, where the minimum required is 20 feet.
Good evening, Diane Harold, architect for Arlene and David Hennix. Good evening. I'm giving you a sheet of paper because we've made some changes, and I just want you to be aware because you may not pay attention to them all as I'm reading them off to you. So, the existing house at 401 Dune Road is one of the first houses in Pond Point. The CO is dated January 11th, 2003 for a one-family, 2-story with decks and walkways. Then it has a permit issued for a second-floor addition. The current house is 3 stories with habitable space on the first floor. That includes bedrooms and bathrooms and laundries. And that's one of the reasons we're here asking for a variance. The property is unique because most of the house is in FEMA X zone, which means it's dead. And it has a FEMA zone of AE7 near the Dune Road and VE16 on the dunes. So you know we have severe up and downs. So I had a discussion with both Brad and Paul, building inspectors, and this is some time ago, obviously. Both of them agreed that the house does not conform to zoning, building codes, height restrictions. So we're using the formula to calculate, we could use the formula to calculate substantial improvements, making more sense to demolish the existing house and build a new house. So we're basically giving you paperwork for a new house. So we had a couple of things from Brad that were variances. The board's going to be happy because there were 6 variances and we've removed 3 of them. The 3 that were removed were involved with the front deck setbacks, side yard setbacks. The house
has lost the front yard, front decks, because
Well, hold on, back up. You're removing the front deck.
we're removing the front decks.
The front deck is off the table, so you don't need a front deck or the setback.
I'm removing the front decks because it was side yard setbacks, it was front yard setbacks, but it was also something that it enabled us to change the lot coverage, let me just see, to the 20%. It was 21.4 when we had the decks there because they counted into the area. So that removed the third variance.
Well, the one I'm showing you, Diane, it's
What?
still, the one I'm showing you just gave us, it still shows 21.4.
Yeah, but it goes 20%.
Maximum permitted is 20%.
But we're doing
Well,
20%.
Well, you're not,
That's why I'm giving you the paperwork, because some things were changed.
oh, so I should change it manually.
You can change it manually, but it's inside the paperwork. It
Oh,
will
I
tell
see.
you.
Okay,
It will
all right.
tell you. That's why I gave you
Okay,
all these
got it.
drawings, because we were changing things and I wanted you to be aware of.
Okay,
So actually, that was just the denial letter. What I've given you is a response to the denial
okay, got it,
letters.
got it.
Okay, I'm sorry, you should
That's-
explain that to you.
Okay. So the front deck is gone and you have lot
The front
coverage
decks
not
are
conforming.
gone, side
Okay,
yards are
that's a
done.
great start. Good for you. Wonderful.
Yeah, well, it
Nice
was an
start.
easy thing to do to
Yeah.
solve all my problems. So we are still working on the coastal erosion hazard line. That's one of the denials that we had.
Mhm.
So that is, I'm going to explain how we're getting compliance. That will also be in your paperwork. It's compliance with FEMA elevations, the high roof elevation, pile foundation with vents, flood vents, no habitable space on the lower level, appropriate use of materials framing to be fastened with Simpson ties, and continuous from roof to foundation, installation of a sanitary system approved by Suffolk County Department of Health Services. We're doing a whole new, brand new house and sanitary system. So there's a formula to calculate substantial improvement to make more sense to them. So it made more sense to us demolish the house and build a new one conforming to building, zoning, codes, and FEMA zones. So I've covered that one. I've covered the four that we had. So I'm left with, I believe the only one I'm left with is the, let me just see, I did the building colors. The only one I have left is the habitable floor area and the rear decks. And I'm going to address the rear decks. They're 2.7 and 5.5 feet from property lines. The minimum required is 20 feet. The surveys by Robert A. Cart dated February 1, 1983, April 5th, 1983, and May 5th, 1985 include the rear decks. The decks are built on primary dunes. So these decks have been there for a long time. So I am asking you to approve the decks that are there now, because they're framing and the decks are supporting, the decks are protecting the dunes. This deck is on a primary dune. It's quite high. And any disturbance of the primary dunes would not be allowed, and none is proposed. So I attached that survey that's also in your package, so that you understand that. So that pretty much covers
So am I to understand you're leaving the decks right where they are?
just the way they are.
You're just leaving them where they are? You're not doing
Yeah,
anything?
because if
to-
you go there, there's sand.
We've been there.
Oh, well, you went there. I know you did. Yeah, I forgot. So if you stood on the deck, you know how nice it is. So, so we'd like to keep that deck. The owners would be willing to get rid of the east walkway if it would give you something to work with. I don't know if any of the neighbors have complained. This deck, that's the one we're discussing, has not been, none of the neighbors have complained, none of anybody in the community has said anything. So we think that it's a valuable deck to keep for the dunes.
Now, you realize that, if this weren't in the R5 zone, this would never be possible to leave a deck like that in the crest of the dune.
This is very old. You know, it's been there.
But
I
it
gave you a
is.
very old
It is
survey.
on point.
It's been consistent. The surveys have always shown it as the same size,
Is that another
same
answer?
location.
Yeah.
So,
AI read it?
it would be important to keep that deck.
Diane, what would happen if the deck over here?
Oh, yeah.
What would happen to the condition of the dune if the deck were removed?
Well, obviously, when you build a deck, you know, you've got serious beams and structures under that deck. So I think that if you started digging there, somebody from FEMA or somebody from, environmental would be staring at you and saying, what are you doing to a primary dune? Because it's very obvious. I mean, it's the highest point on that whole property and probably one of the highest points for that whole section of dunes, the ones that are where they are. So I think it's, I wouldn't vote for this unless I knew that it was going to hold everything together. And it's substantial. So I don't see, since it's flat to the sand, I don't see where it's got to be changed. If it were sticking out 5 feet, sticking out 2 feet,
I mean, if this is the
that
clean
would be a
slate,
different story. But this has been there and it has a history
except for the dune,
for a number of
except for
years.
the decks rather.
And I think it's an important part of the
Alright,
house, because it certainly is a nice deck to look out from. So I would encourage the board, if they could, to agree to this, because I think it's something that is substantial. And certainly, if any of the neighbors complain that you were ruining the dune, we'd have FEMA or some organization coming in and checking on it.
Diane, if I can suggest, I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not sure this is your purview to make a judgment on that, disturbing the dunes and such. I mean, I think you do other things than that, correct? Yeah. I think that it'd be proper since this is a very sensitive thing to talk about.
Do you want me to have it inspected?
To have a professional, whether it be someone like Aram or someone else,
Oh, I know Aram.
to make a presentation.
So you would like somebody to approve?
Can you talk into the microphone? Because
Oh, I'm
it's,
sorry. Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
I could get Aram or somebody to come to the deck. I mean, everybody went here and you did see it. It's a serious deck. But it is also buried quite nicely. I can't see why anybody would ever want to dig around it or try and do
Okay,
anything
but
to it.
it's what Joe's saying, is it'd be a good idea to get somebody in here to just
I'm okay with
solidify
it.
what you
That's
say.
okay.
Okay?
can we hear
And
from the
then-
coastal erosion administrator on this? That's him.
So this is R5, right? This is
Yeah.
different. This is not R3. If it's
Right.
2 lots down, rest of dune comes into play. We don't. Is there a piece of dune on this property? Sure, probably. But in between this property and the beach is we have the surf walk and then another unbuildable piece of land that fronts all these houses. So this is within the R5 zone. If we don't do the 75 feet in the
Mhm.
crest of dune and you can't be in this, it's a 25-foot setback from the rear yard, it's 20-foot setbacks from accessory structures. You have a dune protected you from the lot to the south that they can't touch. They can't go beyond this circle. So there would be no agency environmental to have an issue with removal of deck within the setback, because that agency environment, that's just me. So that, I don't want to not respond to that.
Just
You
my,
could- you could
is
1,000%
it belaboring the
demolish
point?
Anything.
Is it belaboring the point to ask for the applicant to pay for Aram to come in? That's my question. Is that really it?
It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can demolish something that's not constructed where it's supposed to be, and you can do it in a way that's, responsible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
The dune is a living, growing thing, and you remove deck, you pull piles out of there, you already got equipment back there to rebuild this house. It's not a big deal, you yank some old decking out of there. put back decking.
You do it all the time, right?
Well, could I interrupt you for a minute? Because we are not disturbing that area. All of the work is well in from that and far away from that particular deck. That deck is high. We're probably, because we're keeping the pilings that are there. So, well, some of
I
them.
understand.
So it's not like I'm,
You don't wanna touch those decks because they're in a nice spot. But you have
Yeah.
an alternative. Big piece of land here. Decks are not.
The argument that you made was that we shouldn't remove it because it's worse to remove it. That, there's no basis to say that. That's what, it's done all the time. If your argument were true, then every non-conforming deck that exists on the entire oceanfront would have to stay
Well,
where it is because
the fact
we'd
is,
rather leave
though-
it there than remove it and make it conforming.
the
That's all.
fact is that we have proof that its existence has been
It's a
for a
different
long time.
argument.
Yeah.
That's a different argument than
I
saying
understand, but-
you shouldn't remove it because it's better for the environment to leave it there. That's all.
Well, I should think that would help too.
But that's not,
Diane, talking to
that's
the
not
mic.
a sound argument is what, that would
No.
apply to every single
All right, well-
non-conforming deck that's built into the dune.
That's
and-
why you have a board, and I'm appealing to your board to maybe
Okay.
have some sense, but that's up to you. So then the last one is also interesting because it's the proposed habitable area, and I have the two owners with me to explain to them, to you, excuse me, to the board, why you would like to have the extra square, why they'd like to have the extra square footage. That's number 19734A5,
So here we have.
proposed
a
habitable floor
house
area.
In Ponds Point, R5, that you wanna have, what is that? Up to 3,100, where am I? 3,165 instead of 2,500. Right, so you wanna have another 665 feet.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and we're gonna have the owners talk to us now. Good, come right up there, speak into the microphone for us if
Okay.
you would.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Arlene Hennick.
I'm David Hennick.
We'd like to thank the
Okay,
board.
speak up because we're trying to record this and I know it's
Okay.
been a long night for everybody.
First, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the board for hearing us and hearing our application. We purchased 401 Dune Road in 2008, and West Hampton Beach has been our home since then for the 18 years.
When did you purchase it?
2008.
2008, okay?
The original home was built in the 50s, has a tremendous lower level, as Diane said, 2 bedrooms, living room, den, wash, a laundry room, and an outdoor shower. However, this space is currently uninhabitable. We can't redo that. We can't renovate it because of the zoning laws. So what we want to do is move this living space to the first and second floor of our new home so we can accommodate our children, our grandchildren, so they could all come to visit. We're trying. We want to make this house as compliant as we can be with the current zoning laws. We're building everything on pilings. We're adding a new sanitation system, and we'll get rid of the other deck, the second walkway. So thank you very much for your kind consideration, and if there are questions we can answer, we will. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So let me ask you a question. Why can't you comply with the 2,500 square feet of habitable space?
We have,
Let me interrupt.
okay.
Number of bedrooms.
Diane, could you just talk into the microphone? I know this is
It's,
difficult to
I'm just
remember.
jumping in for a minute. We need 5 bedrooms for the family. So once you do 5 bedrooms, they're 12 by 10. They run across the house, and we need the extra width in the house to accommodate all the bedrooms and then all the other living spaces that are involved also that were downstairs in the lower level. So we're asking for the permission to expand that. And I think, do you have your camera? Oh, what we were doing, I should have brought a, what?
David has on his phone, as other people show, the size of of our home as it is now compared to the other homes. We're not asking it to be much bigger than the homes on either side of us, one of which is in Pond Point. That's all.
Well, Pond Point has, you know, they have certain restrictions for size, that's why you have to ask for a variance.
Right.
But to be honest with you, and no disrespect to the family, but that's just not a basis to grant the variance.
I
You know,
mean-
if you have grandchildren, you have kids, we've had, you know, that is not a condition because whether it's your intention or not, and I'm not trying to, you know, get involved in that, but an applicant can come before this board and say, we have, you know, 5 grandchildren that want to come out and spend the summer with us. And if we were to approve that, they could turn around and sell that house the next month. Okay, I know you're not
No,
going to do that.
and we
that's-
have-
But you have to understand.
I do.
As a board, we have to look at this and a big family is not a basis for
I
a
understand.
variance.
We have
Okay, good.
3 sons, a daughter, daughter-in-laws, grandchildren, almost son-in-law. I'll let David show you. But the board has over the years granted to different people.
I can't hear you.
I think our current home is already over 2,500 square feet. It's about almost 2,800 square feet. So we're looking for an extra about 300 on top of that. If you want, I could show you, and I'm sorry I didn't bring a big aerial view, but on Google Maps, I could show you our house, which we are the eastmost house of Pond Point. The size of our lot is the same as the lots on either side of us, but the houses next to us are larger when you look at square footage or coverage. And if you go 2 houses west, you don't just have 1 house, you have 3 houses. And that goes for several houses further down. So they have a much proportionately larger square footage coverage of that lot compared to what we're proposing to do. So I could show, I don't want to bore you, but I'm happy to just show you an aerial view if you'd like me to.
Well, we are familiar with the area. We've been down there several times. And
All right, so that's our pitch, I think.
Yeah, it's got, you have to put together an argument, just as I was mentioning to some other applicants. You know, if you feel that someone else has a larger house, more habitable area, larger square footage of property that they cover, you know, for some reason or another, you have to bring that argument to us. You know, the argument, as the chairman said, just to say, well, we've got, you know, a large family, we've got kids, we've got grandkids and such, and you want to take a 2,800 square foot home that you have now and go to 3,500. It's, you know, that's not a strong enough argument.
3,100, not
31, I don't know, I thought it was 35.
That's 3165.
31,
We're
okay.
currently at about 2,800, so we're looking for about 300 square feet.
Right.
So,
We're probably looking for a compromise if you can.
Okay, and
That's all. I
I
mean,
mean, we want to do what is acceptable to the board, for sure. I mean,
the good part from my seat is that you're next to the R3 zone, you know, with larger homes. And you're right in the center of Pond Point, so to speak. You know, but there's got to be a good argument, you know, on your side.
You might want to research the next one.
Well, that's what I was just walking over here to mention that. What I'll do is a study of the areas that are in our zone and see what the comparable houses are.
Yeah.
And I can come back to you and say, okay, we're you know, in the middle or something, or we may not be able to be successful, but I can at least check what the houses are. That's easy enough to do.
Well,
And I'll,
the best argument is some new construction also, or
well,
some new
well,
renovation.
that's what happened to us. I'm interrupting you, but we got stuck that we didn't do all this work back in the old days when we could and have a 3-story house.
Sure.
Now we're stuck with, we got rid of the lower level, you know, and then they changed all of the zoning on us. I mean, you know, but Pond Point needed it. I know that.
Well, that may be the bad news. The good news is the houses were $300,000 back then.
Pizza
Now
is
they're 3 million. So
I know. Big difference, you're right.
right. So
Okay.
Well, we'll take this back into consideration and we'll certainly be back to see you.
okay, great.
Thank you so
That's
much.
good.
Diane, there's 4 properties like you on PowerPoint that are larger, look at your side, and look at the other side.
Yeah, I will.
Four
It's easy
forty-one
enough
is
to do.
a similar vote.
Yeah, no, I know there are different as well. Thank you for your help.
All right,
So you're just holding this over?
yes. We'll make a motion, to hold this over for all purposes.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
All righty.
We do this.
All right, we have just two requests for extensions. Let's do those quick, right? 121 Seafield Point, all right, they look for an extension to May of 2027. Make a motion, we do that. Second by Jim, all you guys in
Aye.
favor? Good.
Aye.
And then Enzo Morbido and Catherine Albert, 110 Beach Road. They're also seeking an extension to next July of 2027. Good, okay. All righty. Sole survivors, gentlemen.
This is on the secret discussion? Is that
This
what
is
we're
our
up to?
secret discussion.
So can I update the board? We'll try to make this. So
Painless?
we did ask the planning board, whether they would want to be lead agency or not want to be lead agency. And at the last meeting, last Thursday, they voted to say, yes, they would like to be lead agency. So it's back to this board. If you, I'll tell you what I told them, which is that if you insisted on that you wanted to be lead agency, there is a dispute mechanism for resolving that with the DEC. But if you don't care, then let them be lead agency, because they do care. So it's my way of putting it to you. It's up to you whether you care. Enough.
We know you care. It's.
Yeah, I don't mean, and by the way, it's about who's acting as lead agency, not who's deciding. It doesn't change your jurisdiction.
Doesn't change our
And,
jurisdiction.
and we would want you to be involved in
Very much.
the secret process too, because that's important for you. So even if you're not lead agency, we can make sure that there are mechanisms for you to have input on the secret process.
What do you guys think? I think the planning board wants to do this. I think it's okay with me,
Okay, you,
right? Because they, I mean, they have done this before.
let them do it. Okay.
Let them do it. We're still gonna be ultimately making these decisions.
Okay,
So I'm okay with it.
all right.
So what do we have
Do
to
either of you have anything you want to add?
Well, as I said to the other board, we would be happy with either board,
Yeah.
but we also are happy to avoid the protracted process of deciding. So the planning board is.
Planning board wants to do it. Okay, that's okay with me.
All right, so next
What do
week.
we have to do?
You really don't have to do anything. At next week's meeting, we'll initiate the lead agency process for the planning board. And we'll let them know that you agreed that they can, as far as you're concerned, we still have other involved agencies, at least the health department, but they never want to be.
Next meeting, we need a resolution from them to acquiesce to the agency or just. Because the planning board has to, next Thursday, planning board said, we're gonna act as lead agent. Megan and I are gonna send a bunch of stuff out to involved agencies that usually want something back for 30 days. Move on.
I tell you what, would the five of you authorize Brad and I to inform the planning board that you officially acquiesce in their being lead agency?
Yes.
Good enough, right? Because then we don't have to
Is there an
wait the
extra
30
step?
days.
We don't have to talk about this next month.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'd like to move it along as much
Yeah.
as we can.
And it's better that applicants aren't getting conflicts from the same village that feels.
Gotcha. Okay.
What
Good.
probably I could tell you though, since you're gonna still be an involved agency, is think about the areas of concern that you have
Mhm.
and that you would want the applicants to address. So start thinking about that. You only got a flavor from them last time as to what the application was about, but if you can start thinking about the areas of concern, then that can help shape what these guys have to do and what the planning board has to do. Okay?
Yes.
So we'll keep this, I think we should keep it on for sort of a discussion purpose, right? I mean, that, maybe not at the next meeting, but at least at the one after that, I think we would want your input on the secret process. So maybe in 2 months, we would.
The second meeting in September, planning board should do so. We need to start having actual
Yeah.
word from the applicants to talk about public hearings and all that.
So is there a public hearing for the secret determination itself? Or
Not necessarily. Only if you're pos decked, so.
Right. But yeah, well,
You probably don't want to invite that.
so we're not actually advertising public hearing until after
Next week, the planning board's gonna solicit to be lead agency, 30 days, to come up the second meeting in September, and say, okay, great, now that we're lead agency.
I mean, we haven't advertised anything for this board.
Public hearing, we have put it in the advertised agendas that we were discussing on procedure in case someone's curious, but we have not put it out.
And what would you need from them in order to determine what variances they need?
Well, now the planning board will be lead agency.
It's so quick, man.
End of September, I will want the planning board to say, okay, so what are things we need, what are things we'd like to look at? How do we feel about the shape if it's in, to go to the zoning board? How do we feel, the usual things like, is it okay now? Not that we can wait another month, but I think the second meeting in September. Planning board feels like it's in good shape to go to public hearing, either with them or this board, and we'll advertise. I don't know that you haven't got any substantive feedback, it's just an initial.
But we have filed.
Thank you.
Yeah. But there were some open questions that even you acknowledge you had to think about, and
Oh, right, yeah, no.
I
think those will fall out of the.
I'm not even certain that your application like specifies a number of, like, what would be the parking variance, for example, right? We don't know, because I don't know that we know what your capacity, your proposed capacity is. So things like that might have to get sort of fleshed out.
I think that September meeting, second September meeting, let's plan to have some sort of presentation. And then
Is this sale, has the sale gone through, or is it still a contract vendee for it? So it's all based on approval, probably, huh? Sort of? Yeah.
That's not our business.
Brad,
More complicated than that.
Brad,
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't anticipate it actually getting back to spring or October. Push it down the line. It's just, I doubt we're gonna have that number sorted out in the first meeting. We're really not gonna talk about it until the second meeting. Next week, all we can do is really say, all right, we're gonna be meeting.
Brad, on the front end of this, wouldn't the zoning board have more important, play a more important role on the front end of this, and then the planning board pick it up from there, or not? I mean,
Loaded question.
Are you asking my opinion?
yeah.
I let the planning board know my opinion, who I think lead agency should have been. We're gonna go this way instead, so.
Look, the two arguments are, one is that I do agree you have more substantive jurisdiction over this. The only flip side to that is they have more experience being an environmental review board than you do. Because most of their applications have some form of environmental review, where most of your applications are single-family residences where secret doesn't even come up. So there's an argument to be made that either board could be lead agency, and
They also have consultants who might bring up things that.
Right, okay.
I really think to
Yeah. Yeah, I would be okay with it as long as we're involved every step of the way, not just every 45 days or something like that, just.
No,
You,
again, it's gonna take a little bit to get back to this board, I think, like a month or two. But once it gets back to there, this board is gonna have a lot of things to discuss. And it's gonna be with you until you come to some, I don't know, final decision, but you're gonna have to, your decision is gonna weigh heavily on the application.
You could choose too, to have one or two of you, not more than two, but one or two of you attend the planning board meetings where it will be discussed. Not everyone, but you know, if a couple of you or one of you has time to attend the planning board meetings, it might make sense to have, so it's not just being filtered through the two of us back to you, that at least one or two of you is part of that process, so you know, there's a good dialogue going back and forth.
I think that's a good idea.
So if you want to volunteer, feel free.
Yeah, no, it's,
You
you know, it
opened
is,
your
it's,
mouth.
you know, this is an important
is.
application.
It is. So that's why I'm saying that. I think it's,
If it's a nighttime available,
it's,
just gonna be away a
we'll
little bit.
keep you posted and
I
then
definitely would wanna be involved.
just remember, it can't be three of you because then it becomes a.
Open meeting.
Right.
And by the way, that we could actually advertise something like that if there was interest to have, maybe like in a couple of months. We've done that before where we had the trustees attend and sort of have a joint work session when there was something like that where it made sense to have that. We can advertise a special meeting for the zoning board to attend, to have 3 or 4 or 5 of you show up. So that's all possible, and
Okay.
I want to.
I'd be in.
I want to encourage the good back and forth between the boards. So
Yep.
Good.
Was it a unanimous vote?
4. There was a 5th who wasn't there who would have gone the other way, but we don't know. We don't know.
All right, well, if we're all set with this,
I think so.
we're good, I can make a motion, close the meeting.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for waiting
Thanks for hanging around with us.
Thank you, everybody.